All right, sorry about that. We had a slight hiccup. Of course, of all the days to have a slight hiccup, a day we couldn't have possibly have more to discuss. It is Glenn Clark Radio. I am Glenn Clark. He's Griffin, and it's a Friday, so the Chief Grand Poobah is here. He smells like a bar. Smells like he was rolling around in beer and champagne last evening.
Cigar smoke.
Cigar smoke. He is, of course, Stan the Fan Charles. Good to see you. Thanks for joining us.
Good to see both of you guys.
Appreciate Stan brought gifts today. Stan brought some of the corks from the celebration last night, which is very cool.
I was actually over at Totally Wine last night. After hours, and I was scrummaging around in the trash can.
Yeah, it's weird. You didn't come with like a certified, like nothing that authenticates this.
Well, my guy Ray Schulte lives in Arizona.
Yeah, right.
It's got the A on there.
And what's the A for?
Angelos.
Yeah, right. Stan is here.
Does it have an A?
What, right? Like that?
No,
right
on
there?
the top.
No,
Or
mine
bottom.
says LB.
Now, how about the other side?
No, also it's Louis.
Okay. Two different bottles.
All right, look at that. Look at that. Well, we got a lot to do on the program today. Yes, Orioles are AL East champions, and they have a lease. We will discuss that coming up a little bit later on. We will we'll catch up with our friend Roy Firestone, longtime broadcaster, and, of course, very close friend of Brooks Robinson. And he'll share some thoughts, some memories with us. Also, we'll get ready for Ravens-Browns today. Charles Davis from CBS will be on the call alongside Ian Eagle. He will check in with us. It's Friday, so we'll catch up with our friend Bo Smolka, PressBox Ravens beat writer. And later in the show, I'm going to catch up with Michael Dunn, former Terp offensive lineman for the Cleveland Browns. And we'll get out of here today with segment number 3 of the Tyus Bowser Show with special guest Michael Pierce. So much to do on today's program.
How was the crowd this week for the Tyus Bowser Show?
We had a good crowd. We had, I would say that the Orioles fever is starting to be a
thing.
I had some of our regulars who were like, especially because they were at home this week.
Yeah.
They were like, I kind of want to go to the game. And I said, hey, totally understand.
Yeah.
It's the way it goes. It's something that we're going to have to think of. I think it works out that during the ALCS, they have an off day on Tuesday. I don't remember what the story is for the division series. The division series starts Saturday, so I think the off day would be Monday, so they would be playing on Tuesday. But
yes.
I got to tell you, last night there were only 27,000 people in the park.
Mm-hmm.
When I say only, it was a nice crowd.
Mm-hmm.
But the O in the national anthem, I don't think I've ever heard it louder than last night.
Really?
Yeah. It was like, we mean business.
Yeah, right. We're here for a reason
Yeah.
tonight. I was there on Wednesday, kind of hoping for the best, hoping that it was all going to work out. And thanks a lot, Boston.
Yeah.
But it was, obviously it was a great night last night, and there's so many things that kind of converge last night, right? Like there's the dramatic announcement of the lease in the middle of the game to the point where like nobody even knows what's going on and the hell is happening right now.
I got to be honest. I'm sitting at the ballpark. Jeff Barker, the Baltimore Sun business writer, was working on a story having to do with Ben Cardin taking over as from Menendez as the chair of the committee. And I go, hey, really, have you working on stuff like that? He goes, yeah, I'm working on that. And I got the ballpark, I'm doing business stories around the postseason. And he went up to eat after the game started because he was busy writing. And I see in between innings, I see the governor and John Angelos on the scoreboard. And, the governor's like pumping his fist.
Right.
And John's behind him smiling. And I said, that's great. And the fans are going, yeah, And I'm going, that's great. About 3 minutes later, Jeff Barker comes. He goes, boy, they really dropped a bomb on us with this announcement.
Right.
And I go, what announcement? I didn't even realize that they had scrolled something. I would have assumed something like that. That would have been announced like before the game. Like with an announcement,
correct,
by the PA announcer with the all it was a picture of John Angelos and Governor Moore, and they're smiling, and I thought they're just smiling because it's like a big game.
Right. It was, yeah. I mean, it was very surprising. I think I was trying to figure out the reason behind the timing as well. It was right after the Jorge Mateo, that bad call where the Orioles challenged it and then it didn't get overturned. So I felt like maybe they were trying to flip the crowd back, get them back pumped up. But I'm not. I don't know if that was always the plan.
The text that came
it was like
I didn't even
just
read
said.
that.
Yeah, it just said. Governor Moore, the Maryland Stadium Authority, we have agreed to a 30-year extension lease with Camden Yards. So the Orioles are here to stay for 30 years. And
It does not appear as though we know any of the fine details yet
but they're
about.
They're going to play all their home games in Nashville.
Yeah, they got the lease though, which is the important.
They got the lease.
All right, that's
John Angelos signed the lease.
And this is the I didn't want to poo-poo it because I get it. Like everybody wanted to see the lease get done, but as we've talked about a million times, like anybody that was perpetuating the idea that anything else was going to happen, it was absurd. And I get the frustration of okay, well then why hasn't the lease been? Sure, it would have been nice to let everybody sleep on their a little bit better, I guess, if that had been done earlier. But there was never.
And what did John turn down the 5-year extension?
Yes.
Yeah, there was a clause that could have kicked in a short term.
Right.
And John turned that down, and everybody, the nervous Nellies in town,
But the
you and I calmly.
Well, and the facts just never lined up with the idea that was ever going to happen. Yeah. Once the $600 million was in play, I try to say to anybody who will listen, you don't turn down that money somewhere because you don't know that you have it in other places. Like you take the money. It's Major League Baseball. Once the public money was in play, there was zero chance of the Baltimore Orioles being anywhere other than right here. Zero. None. There was basically no chance of it beforehand. But once that happened from a practical standpoint, this is just how professional sports operates. We can't look away from $600 million because we don't know that there are $600 million waiting for us in Nashville or in where Salt Lake City or Buffalo or Orlando or any of these other places where they would like to have teams. All that being said, I know it was a good feeling for Orioles fans. I'm far more interested in like the facts of it. Like, how is this now? What did they end up saying about the parking lots? What did they end up saying about Camden Crossing?
And you remember, I had always taken a position and had conversations with Craig Thompson, the head of the Maryland Stadium Authority, that this was a much larger game at play, where I saw a public-private partnership much more down Utah Street leading to the ballpark with some kind of configuration of turning that into the area that John wanted on site. And I had been led to believe that that's sort of where they were going. And then all of a sudden we hear about the parking lots, and I was flabbergasted, to be honest with you.
And I don't know if it's totally possible. One of the things that I had talked about with some of my sources was we're not opposed to trying to solve something, but it's not what they want because we can't do that, and so we've got to figure something else out. And in the meantime, we just need to get the lease done, and let's have good faith partners that can continue negotiating even after the lease is done. So my gut tells me that's probably all like what played out, but there's enough faith.
And there'll be something down the road that will address some of the, not exactly the way John and the Orioles wanted it to be, but will address some type of creation of something that the Orioles will be invested in.
Correct.
I would think.
You would like to hope that's the case. But for the meantime, there's a lease, and if for whatever, to allow people to sleep better at night on your comfortable lease pillow, I guess. Like, all is good.
And I will.
Thank you. I'm glad to hear it, Griffin. I'm glad you'll sleep comfortable on your
Amazing timing, though, with the sadness of the death of Brooks Robinson, the clinching, and this. It's just it was a whirlwind of emotions.
No question about it. Hey, real quick, Saturday, October 28th, the Public Safety Building, 700 East Joppa Road in Towson, is the next Baltimore County Police Department hiring event. You can go through all of the process there, the agility test, the written test. You can go through the entire application right there on the spot. Plus, you can learn more about career path opportunities within the Baltimore County Police Department. Specialized units will be there in person for you to ask questions, learn more about it's not just normal patrol officers, there are other roles and careers that you can have within the police department, so you can learn about those. And even if you're not thinking about a career change, it's just a great event for kids because they're also doing a trunk or treat. So you can bring your kids out, nice safe environment for them to get candy that day, put their costumes on, have a great time, and interact with the Baltimore County Police Department.
Did you say candy?
Yes. So maybe it's not just for kids. Maybe it's also for...
I've decided not to take the agility test
because you want to make
time because I want to be in line for candy.
I understand that. 410-887-4584 and joinbaltimorecountypd.com is the website for you to find out more about that event. Stan, the flip side of it is the practical nature of them winning the division. Like, we can have maybe next week is a good time to pause and think about the entirety of the season because they're going to have the week off leading up to the first game on Saturday next week. But the practicality side of it is they badly needed to make sure they didn't cough this up down the stretch because this looks like a team, particularly in the bullpen, that has needed a week off and an opportunity to get a respite and to kind of reload going into the playoffs about as much as any as I've ever seen.
They're a young club, yet I feel that they're exhausted as a veteran club would be.
It feels like they're being harmed by, like, they've never played this many games. They've never, or games that matter before. They've never, a lot of these players have never done it.
Yeah. Some of the concern we've had about the innings, how are they going to get Kyle Bradish, Dean Kramer, and Grayson past these innings limit, that somehow that those are total barriers to them competing successfully in a postseason. I think that the thing that's overlooked is there are other teams that have pitching staffs that are equally as fatigued and equally as up against it. And I think the Orioles have shown a remarkable way of handling this that just I don't see that. I don't think no matter what happens in the postseason now, whether we're booted in the division round, we win the World Series, I don't think anything that happens now will be specific to those innings barriers that we thought, that Dean Kramer's never pitched this many innings. I mean, Kyle Bradish is pitching better than he ever has. Grayson Rodriguez is pitching at the major league level better than he ever has. So nothing that takes place will be predicated upon the fact that the club's pitching is exhausted. But having said that,
the bullpen,
to have a week for a reset and get some tired arms in that bullpen back ready to start again, I think is really beneficial for this club. Now, again, last year, the Atlanta Braves got the week off and then laid an egg and lost to was it the Padres?
The Padres lost beat the Dodgers. The Braves would have been the
Cardinals.
Is that who it was? Gosh, man.
I can't remember.
Well, it would have had to have been the Phillies, right?
Yeah, okay.
Yeah, it would have had to have been the Phillies.
They lost the first round,
yeah,
and we're out of it, before you know it. Could that happen? Yeah, but I don't think it'll be because of these fatigued arms in the starting rotation. Because Dean Kramer didn't look very fatigued last night to me.
The Philadelphia beat Atlanta in 4 games in the division series. And for what it's worth, both of the teams that had the bye, because the Dodgers also had the bye and then lost to the Padres in the following round. Now, in the American League, it was the exact opposite. The 2 teams that had the bye, both were the teams that ended up playing in the ALCS. So I think this team absolutely can use that for the week. I would also suggest that, I don't like saying it out loud because it sounds like we're besmirching the name of our Lord and Savior, but, it looks like Gunnar Henderson could use a break at the moment, right?
Yeah.
It certainly looks like Cedric Mullins maybe could use a break at the moment. There have been...
I found it very interesting last night that he was not in the lineup last night in a pennant clinching game, and then I expected he fully would appear in the 7th inning as a pinch hitter or something. Didn't play at all in the game last night.
He came in for the 9th inning to play center.
He did come in the 9th?
Yes, they made because they pinch hit everybody in the bottom of the 8th.
Okay,
right.
I didn't
see that. Changes. Yeah.
Well, Kerstad came in for Mateo, or pinch hit for Mateo when he got the...
Arias came in, Cedric came into center. They had, and then Yeah, and then I think Frazier might have even because Frazier pinch hit, so he came in for Westberg, I think. So,
but there is the they scored 2 runs last night. They scored 1 run 2 days. Like it feels like it's not just the bullpen. It just feels like a few of the bats in this lineup have been scuffling a little bit down the stretch, and they also maybe could use a bit of a reset for a couple of days. Now, to your point, we don't know how it affects them to be sitting around for a few days. Your nephew and I were having a conversation the other day about it'll be interesting to see what Brandon Hyde's plan is for how do you get these guys the rest that you want to get them and yet not have it turn into them kind of shutting down a little bit ahead of, the most important games of the season. So we can't have those answers, but it really does feel from afar like this is a team that was going to start being on fumes at some point if they had to keep playing without any sort of respite. They had struggled just enough down the stretch in certain areas that you could really feel like this was important.
Now, when do they need to submit their roster?
I believe not until Saturday.
Until Saturday.
Yeah.
Or Friday at the.
I think that it's the day.
It has nothing to do with this Monday. We have to.
No.
Yeah.
It's
so the Felix Bautista thing is hanging out there, but in the midst of the Felix Bautista thing, I thought Brandon Hyde's bullpen usage last night was fascinating. When he brought in Cano, I said, boy, he really wants to win this thing, meaning like Cano's going to pitch 2 innings.
No, I've talked about Stan. I don't think, in fact, if anything, I'm starting to wonder if they're leaning towards Tyler Wells as being the closer.
Well, I gotta tell you, after the other night when he brought in Perez, and Perez got the save. Right? Didn't he get a save 2 nights ago?
He definitely pitched. I assume he got the save.
He
came in the ninth, yes. Against Cleveland.
I said, wow, he's bringing, because he let Cano pitch 2, and I said, with 2 left-handed hitters, Devers and Verdugo coming up, I said, I guess he's going to Perez here for the rest of the game, and he let Perez pitch to 1 batter. I think what he's doing now, it's kind of like the original Manchurian Candidate movie, where they had the guy hypnotized, and he goes, hey, Frank Sinatra figures it out as a psychiatrist or something, and he says, we got a whole deck here. And what they threw at them last night was, they threw the kitchen sink at the Red Sox in the last 2 innings.
You sense that it was a little bit of last night. We are, and Brandon Hyde I know he did reference this, like getting a couple of days for us to not have to worry about anything.
Decompress even these last 3
Correct.
days of the season.
Was worth treating the last couple of games like playoff games.
Yep.
Even when they pulled, Dean Kramer last night, you could say they didn't have to do that necessarily, but
it was the right moment.
And it felt like him saying this is the way a playoff game will go.
Yep.
Like this is and I had someone whose opinion who's written for Masson before, someone who I know had reached out this week and said, because I was debating, I think I was surprised that McKenna was the guy to go instead of Kjerstad, because I was like, wow, I thought they were going to value McKenna and the role that he could play and want him on the playoff roster because of that. And now you start to do the math, and unless somebody gets hurt, he's not going to be part of the division series for sure. Like, I guess the math would work out that he could be part of the ALCS. So I was a little surprised by that. Then I said, but they still have to make another roster move, too, because they still have the 26th, the 27th, and 28th men.
Right.
So somebody else still has to go. So it still could be that Kjerstad is the guy to go even beyond. It could be that both of them were always going to go. And this person reached out and said, I think they're going to try to go with a deeper bench and one less pitcher because they're not going to need a 5th starter. And I said, the way that you pull pitchers in the playoffs, I don't.
That would be risky.
Mm-hmm. And
it really would. And these games are so close. Last year, the amazing thing about the Astros and would one-up them over everybody else was they just kept being able to throw an arm out at you. And it was an arm that for 1 inning, you were really going to be hell-bent to score a run, even with the, last year they didn't have the ghost runner in the postseason.
No, and they're not doing the ghost runner in the postseason. Okay. Again, like this
Any
is
postseason
nope,
games. Okay.
Nope. So that's the other, and that's the other factor for me is why I wouldn't go one fewer, pitcher is because all it takes is one 15-inning game to screw up all of your plans and to leave you in a real bind pitching-wise. So I don't think there's a chance in hell that you go one fewer pitcher. I think you need all the pitchers. Even if you don't use them, you have to have them available to you at that point.
To your point, though, about having that deeper bench, I mean, you could see it last night. It allowed Brandon Hyde the flexibility to, in that bottom of the 8th inning,
right.
He pinch hit for everyone. He got the matchup that he wanted, and then that gave him the ability to put Urias in, put Mullins back into the
I'm not
outfield.
denying that it's valuable. It's just that you can only have 26 guys on your team, and you can only use this. Would it be nice to have? Sure. And would the Orioles sort of designate like a designated survivor here? Would they say to, Cole Irvin, hey, man, I'm so sorry. You're going to have to hit that pothole after the game because if we go with a deeper bench and we do have a 15-inning game, then we're going to have no choice but to put somebody on the DL and your playoffs are going to be done. Sorry. It's what it is. But we just have to make that plan ahead of time of who we're going to have get injured. But if you're only putting 12 pitchers on your roster, how could Cole Irvin even have a roster spot? Who of the 12 are you now willing to sacrifice for the rest of the playoffs, essentially, if you were to run into that spot? I just don't think you can do it.
Very interesting, too, is the usage. I had brought it up to the guys on the Saturday show, the Bat Around, Paul and Zach, the notion of immediately, about 10 days ago, immediately moving Flaherty into a bullpen role. And 2 days later, they put him in, and then he never pitched again.
We haven't seen him.
Now, we'll see him, I'm sure, this weekend
100%.
in some regard. But does he make the roster, the postseason roster?
I had always assumed that his innings would be something that would give – that once they did that, I thought to myself, that shows where they think he can have value.
Right,
but to your
he
point,
could come in and pitch 2 or 3 innings.
I've always wondered about his temperament. I wonder if he didn't handle it well. I don't know what to make of the fact that we haven't seen him again. Now, there also hasn't been a scenario where they've specifically needed a 2-inning guy that wasn't in a very close game. And maybe that's the part that we're struck, is that they just don't trust Jack Flaherty in a one-run game scenario. And so his value as a potential, eater of innings has just not come up. But the other thing to keep in mind, and I mentioned that your nephew and I had this conversation, the Orioles probably can't catch the Braves. They're 3 games behind. They can't catch the Braves because the Braves have the tiebreaker. So they can't catch the Braves for the best overall record. They're only 2 games in front of the Dodgers. And I do think that it's warranted to say that you want to make sure that you finish with a better record than the Dodgers, because if it were to be an Orioles-Dodgers World Series matchup, you'd like to have home field advantage there. As much as we say, well, they can't get the number 1 seed overall anyway, so just shut it down. Yeah, that's true, but we don't know that it's going to be the Braves in the World Series. We just don't know that. It could be the Dodgers in the World Series. And if you just roll over and go ahead and lose all 3 games the rest of this weekend and allow the Dodgers to overtake you, you might feel a little silly if that ends up being the case. So
I'm confused. We don't know what city or what league hosts the opening games.
The World Series is now just who had the better record.
Okay. Wow.
So, again, the Braves have locked up that they would have home field through the World Series, but the Braves could lose in the playoffs. And the only team that could overtake the Orioles in the process would be the Dodgers. The Orioles are 2 games up.
Well,
on the
they
Dodgers.
Sure didn't play last night like they cared whether they won the game.
They don't seem to care about it at all. So maybe that's the other good news, is that if you just assume that they don't care, then you can not care, and everybody can not care.
It's all about
together.
my fantasy team.
Oh, who did you?
I had Ryan Yarborough. All of a sudden, I'm looking at my stats last night, and I don't move. I've got like a 10-point lead. 11-point lead over Scott Garceau for 3rd place. I'm in 2nd place, which is a nice payday.
Mm-hmm.
I look at my stats and I go, yep, my offense is dead. And then I see Ryan Yarborough and I go, oh, he's got 11 strikeouts. And it was 11 hits in 4 innings and 9 earned runs.
It just said, "Go, you go ahead, guy. Go right ahead. Enjoy your night."
And seriously, I had a panic situation. I go, well, they're so far behind now, they might just leave him out for another 2 or 3 innings.
100%. Well, I'm sorry. I'm sorry, Stan. I'm very, very sorry.
It didn't move the needle, which is shocking to me.
John Means is still scheduled to pitch tonight.
Yep.
We will see. And that's the other thing, too, is without having the 40-man, roster, there's only so many guys that you can even, like, to your point, I think that Jack Flaherty probably starts one of the next 2 games. I'm going to assume that's Jack Flaherty and Cole Irvin on Saturday and Sunday, right? Like that you're going with guys that you know are not in your playoff rotation. That
Is Cole up? I did not see him.
Oh, that's right. He's not up, is he? He got sent down, yeah.
He got sent down about a week ago.
So I don't even know who could start the other game.
Yeah.
I mean, maybe you throw out.
You got a full week, so, I mean, Gibson could
right,
start
and you just have him go 3 innings or something like that.
2 innings, almost treat it like a bullpen day.
It's a very weird. It's a very Gibson arguably is the guy that you could let pitch for 8 innings in a meaningless game because he's got him in him. We'll see how they handle it this weekend and moving forward, but the part that matters is the Orioles are AL East champions. Today's show is also brought to you by your local Toyota dealer and buyatoyota.com. The Toyota Tacoma comes in a range of models and trim lines, so you can choose the perfect Tacoma to reflect your unique personality and driving habits. Check out buyatoyota.com for deals on new Tacomas from your local Toyota dealer today. We'll have plenty more baseball conversation as the morning goes on, I promise you, but there's also a football game coming up this Sunday. Ravens-Browns, kind of an important little game at the start of the season here in Week 4. 2 teams tied atop the AFC North. Our next guest will be on the call for Sunday's game for CBS. He is the great Charles Davis, and he is with us again here on GCR. Charles, it's Glenn and Stan the Fan Charles here in Baltimore. It's great to chat with you, sir. Thank you for taking a couple of minutes for us.
Well, thanks for having me, and congratulations to the O's. As a person of a certain vintage, it's so much more fun to see them on the scene and competing the way they did. I grew up hearing play baseball the Orioles way.
Yeah.
So it's nice to see them back.
They found their way again,
Sure
Charles.
have. It's been a lot of fun for us this summer.
Certainly did. I actually worked at one time with the daughter of former general manager Harry Dalton.
How about that?
Wow.
How about that? That's pretty cool.
Yeah, and I got to meet Mr. Dalton, which was a very cool thing for me.
Plus, we know you're a man who enjoys some orange in your wardrobe, right? Like,
you
know, dating back to your...
Orange of a certain,
Yeah, a different hue, right? I get it. A different hue is yours. What do they call Tennessee orange, Charles?
Big orange.
Big orange. Okay, all right. That's a little bit of a different hue, a little lighter than Orioles orange.
It's a Tennessee orange. We call it Tennessee orange, big orange, that sort of thing. Other people call it burn your retinas out orange.
Yeah, when you see the whole stadium full of it, sure, it does get that way. Charles, my inclination, and I'm not trying to make excuses or anything like that, but Stan and I talked about this yesterday. My inclination is that what happened to the Ravens a week ago is not really, to me, a huge story about who the Ravens are as much as it's a goofy day in the NFL where bad conditions, a depleted – all of their inactives were impact starters, and a stretch of really crazy circumstances late in the game all conspired to lead to a distasteful home loss, which doesn't make it okay and could end up biting them at the end of the year, but it doesn't suddenly make me say – well, I think they were fraudulent, and the way that you felt after the Cincinnati game wasn't real. I still think they're probably among the better teams in the AFC, right?
Yeah, when healthy. Definitely when healthy. And the way that they play even when they're not healthy leads you to believe, okay, how do we deal with this crew? Because this crew is always the same way. Their mantra is play like a Raven. You know, what they stand for, it's real. That culture is embedded, and we see it week in and week out. So I totally think that you're on target with that when I'm with you. Much more so at the end of the year, will this be the type of game that costs you playoff positioning? Mm-hmm. Do you have to win an extra game that you shouldn't have had to win? You know, will people have to play week 18 as opposed to, this is what that sort of a loss did to them. And especially the team that they lost to, because in no way, shape, or form was Indianapolis better than they were. Baltimore, and look, I'm one of those people who loathes to take credit away from people because that's just the wrong thing to do. But I also wouldn't be real if I sat there and said, "Well, I thought Indianapolis." No,
right?
No, okay. Baltimore's a better football team, all right, and they found a way to put themselves in a position, and then it came true where they ended up losing the ball game.
And that's, as you said, one that could end up biting them at the end of the year. But they have the opportunity, and it's not going to be easy because these next 2 weeks, road games in the division against teams that are feeling good and playing well. Charles, let me go to the flip side. Let me go to the Browns side before we'll come back talk more Ravens. But do we have enough of a sample size to acknowledge that this is legitimate what they're doing defensively? Because this is teetering so far on like a defense that we didn't think was still possible in this era of the NFL. Like, is it possible that that's really how good this Browns defense is?
I think we're going to find out. I suspect that they are a very good defense. Now, these types of numbers, can they hold? Right? This is what we're talking about, because you're talking about historic numbers, and we're talking to I'm talking to a couple of guys who are in Baltimore that know about historical numbers on defense, right? Can that hold through a 17-game schedule? That's always a tough one and dicey, because you never know how each Sunday is going to go. And you mentioned earlier, that was a goofy Sunday last week. What if it's a Sunday where their offense is clicking like crazy and the defense doesn't need to be what the defense is, and they give up somebody throwing for 450? You know what I mean? It's that sort of a thing. Bottom line is, this is a really good defense. And the talent has been there, because if you really examine that team, who's different? Dalvin Tomlinson, Shelby Harris, the defensive tackles. The Darius Smith.
Yeah, that's the new one, right?
As a rusher.
Yeah.
But Newsome, Denzel Ward, Grant Delpit, MJ Emerson in the back end, same people. Anthony Walker, Sione Takitaki at linebacker. Owusu Koromora, same people. Jim Schwartz is a big X factor as a defensive coordinator. They have bought in on what he wants to do. Heck, I'll put it to you like this. Greg Newsome in the offseason, people were hitting him up on Twitter. You going to move inside the slot? And he wrote a big N-O in capital letters. Where's Greg Newsome playing, and playing well in the slot? And no protest to be heard anywhere. Loving what he's doing. So Jim Schwartz has had a profound impact, and he's playing to the confidence level that he has given them. And they're really good. We saw them against Cincinnati. Okay, so here's the deal. Let's just make it real simple. Cincinnati, big reputation, great names, great players. They throttled them. They haven't played super well on offense all year, though. Cincinnati has not, correct?
That's fair.
Pittsburgh coming out of preseason. Everybody was like, oh, God, they're ready to take the lead. Here they go. They haven't been great on offense. Kenny Pickett and crew, they haven't been great, but they throttled them. It's another big name. Cincinnati's a big name. Pittsburgh's a big name. Tennessee, Derrick Henry had 20 yards rushing.
Yeah, it's nuts.
13 carries, okay? Tennessee's not great on offense by any stretch of the imagination, but Derrick Henry's legit, and they totally shut him down. They are legit, but this will be the first time they play a top 10 offense in the NFL in this short sample size this season. And Lamar Jackson, this is where they make their bones, I think, totally across the league. Because if somehow they're able to shut down Baltimore, hold Lamar in check, the whole deal, you've got everyone's attention at that point.
Charles, the Cleveland Browns suffered their first major injury of the year with the loss of Nick Chubb. How are they going to work around that? Who is there in the depth chart?
Jerome Ford, the kid they drafted in the 5th round, he was an Alabama kid, transferred to Cincinnati. He's getting first crack at it. In fact, the night Nick got hurt, he went over 100 against Pittsburgh with a big 69-yard run to help him. Yep. Didn't have big yardage last week, but he's there. Kareem Hunt has been re-signed, so this will be his second week back into the fold. They actually utilize wide receivers as runners as well to actually add to it. Elijah Moore is going to get some carries, I'm sure, not necessarily from the backfield position, but those jet sweeps and other things of that nature. They're just going to have to do it by committee and see what they get. They traded for Pierre Strong, kid out of South Dakota State, got him from New England, and see what happens. But I don't care how you slice it. Nick Chubb gives you a whole different identity when he's on the field running the football than anyone else you have. But the beauty for them is they can throw it, and Deshaun Watson can run it himself. So that adds to what you're doing. You just won't get it in the same package wearing 24. You're going to get it in multiple packages with a lot of different jersey numbers coming at you.
Tell me about what you see with Deshaun Watson now. You know, he had the problem of not having played for nearly 2 seasons. Then he's also trying to learn a new offense last year when he did get in there and it was compressed. Is he back to being as close as he has been to what he was in Houston at one time?
Not yet. Last week was the best we've seen him in the short season. I mean, look, you've talked about it. Don't forget, people have to remember, in 2021, coming off of a monster 2020 season, he sat out the year.
Yep.
Okay, contract dispute. So now you've missed an entire season. not working out with your team, not doing anything. The next year, he comes to his new team, but he suspended the first 11, which means you can't be around the facility for like the first 10 weeks of that. So he was there in training camp and preseason, but then he had to go away. And so when you come back, it doesn't automatically knit back in, and he hasn't played now in essentially 2 seasons.
Yep.
So he's still knocking rust off. He's still getting the movement back, the timing, the speed. Last week was as close as we've seen, but it's still not vintage yet because last week was a lot of short throws that went long, right? A lot of good plays like that. Now the one slant and go that he threw to the running back to Ford was beautiful. Great throw. I'm not saying he didn't make good throws during the day, but we haven't seen them extend it through the air very much yet. Amari Cooper catches it, takes off, and goes. Now, one of them would have been a bigger play, but they blew it dead when he was in bounds, which was unfortunate for them. But I did think that last year was closer to it. The Pittsburgh game, I've not seen a quarterback be as overly hyper in a ball game as we saw Deshaun Watson that night. I don't know what that was. You know, he got 2 face mask penalties. He bumps an official. He's emotional through the night. He's going back and forth, and it was very strange. I didn't see that last week. I saw a young man come back into being what he's supposed to be as the quarterback, a little more under control, a lot more under control, leading his team as opposed to where he was. I just think the emotions of everything hit him that night. Being back, Chubb getting hurt, feeling like he had to do more, Pittsburgh getting into his head a little bit, and just hadn't been playing. I think we'll see him start to elevate a little bit more from here on out, but of course he's going to get a big test on Sunday.
He's Charles Davis. He, Ian Eagle, and Evan Washburn working Ravens-Browns Sunday at 1 on CBS.
He's got to work with that Eagle guy.
Yeah, it's a pretty good crew. That's a pretty damn good crew.
That is a good crew.
Not because of President.
How lucky am I?
Oh, dude, that's such a great crew.
How lucky am I? I'll put it to you this way, guys. When I joined that crew, this is our 4th season now, believe it or not. I joined the COVID year, 2020. So it's been a weird transition, right? You know, you come in then and you're doing games. In fact, our first game was Baltimore at Cleveland. No, Cleveland at Baltimore. That was our first game. It was Kevin Stefanski's first game as a head coach. And I remember when I got the job, I called my dad, and my dad said, "So you're going to CBS?" I said, "Yes." He goes, "What team are you joining?" And I said, "I'm joining Ian Eagle and Washburn crew." He goes, "Huh." I go, "What?" He goes, "They're really good."
Yeah, they are.
I said, "Yeah, they are really good." and he said, and this is my father. And I promise you, he said this. He goes, "Huh. Well, if things don't go real well this year, we'll know what the issue
the weak
is.
link was." Yeah, right. No, it's
always such a positive force behind.
Right. Yeah. Thanks, Dad. Right. No, and I mean this, and I would say this to anybody. It's not because you're on the phone. I get very excited, and the news that you guys are doing the next 2 games is really exciting for us, as we found out you're doing the Pittsburgh game
as
well.
Believe me. Listen, if you're doing AFC North, you're doing Baltimore, you're doing Pittsburgh, Cincinnati, Cleveland, that's a pretty good existence for us, so we're pretty happy about it.
Charles, let me come back to Baltimore for a minute if I could. What this offense is capable of, and obviously the injury is still a huge factor here. The running backs, not Dobbins, of course, but the other 2 look like they're going to be back, but going to be down. It appears still 2 of your top 3 receivers. But walk me through all of the elements of this. What's fair to expect, what you've seen so far in the Todd Monken offense, if, the pieces are mostly together as the season goes on. Lamar now, who's been under microscope his entire career, but now also has to carry the burden of being the $50 million quarterback that every time he does anything, somebody's going to say, $50 million for that, right?
Right.
What is it that your expectations are for how this looks for the Ravens offense moving forward this season?
I think it's going to keep getting better. Todd Monken has proven to me. I mean, I've seen him as an offense. Look, the Tampa Bay teams that he organized and coordinated, they weren't very good record-wise, but my goodness, could they move the football? I mean, he was doing it with Fitzmagic, and Jameis Winston throwing 1 million interceptions, and they were still moving the football. What he did with Stetson Bennett at Georgia was off the charts. He turned Stetson Bennett into a draft pick. Okay, there's no ifs, ands, or buts about it. This guy has proven things happen. Now, what I would love for everything to happen, and it's as much for Lamar Jackson as it is for Todd Monken, is for the life of anyone, can he keep a receiving core that can play consistently 17 games? I mean, every time I turn around, it's a different receiver. It's a grouping that's out. They sign these guys. Now, some of it is you're signing on a little bit of spec. All right? Look, I don't care how you slice it, and Eric DeCosta is one of the better GMs in the league. You take a little bit of a leap when you're signing Odell Beckham at this stage just because of injury. You're hoping to get the best of what he was or a semblance of what the best of what he was because that's really good. But, again, he's dinged up. You know, so Rashad Bateman has been dinged up most of his career in Baltimore. You just wish everything could knit together to get the consistency because we talk about it all the time. A quarterback receiver being able to develop that. How do you develop it? Well, you're together all the time. But you can't be together if your receivers are hurt. And that's not blaming the receiver. That's just the reality of what it is. They're either hurt, can't practice, can't do things. How are you going to develop it? So Lamar's trying to get better. They want to get better. But if you can't all be there together, it's really, really difficult to continue to say, well, he should be doing this, this, and this. So I'm just hoping they can get some health, some time on task, and then see where this develops as it goes along. Because I plugged in the Cincinnati tape, and I thought he played really well in that ball game.
I thought he did, too. I thought it was one of his – we thought he was an orchestra conductor that day, and it had complete –
he really, the old point guard came into play.
Yep.
The orchestra conductor. But I thought that inside slot fade throw, if you go back and watch the tape again, missed it early, missed it the middle part of the game, hit Aguilar for the big touchdown in the fourth quarter.
Yeah, it was beautiful. That was a beautiful throw.
It kept going.
No doubt.
They kept taking the shot, and they got closer, and then wham, they hit it. So that's what I'm talking about, being able to develop that time on task so they can start hitting more of those shots earlier.
Charles Davis, Sunday, 1 o'clock, CBS, Ravens, Browns. Charles, truly appreciate taking the time for us. And we will for sure enjoy hearing your voice the next 2 weeks. Hope that you enjoy a couple of big AFC North matchups.
We're looking forward to it. And thank you very much. You guys are awfully kind. As I said, I'm pretty fortunate to be with Ian and Evan and the rest of our great crew. And listen, these are great games. So our job, not screw them up. So we'll do our best not to.
Thanks, Charles, is your dad part of the crew too?
Yeah.
My dad is like you're doing stage acting or film acting, and you finish a scene. I have a few notes. And by the way, my dad's notes are strictly for me.
Yeah, right. Yeah, he said. By the way, the other guys, they were great. We need to talk.
He's like, you guys, go take a good 5. You got a good 5 on this one. Let me talk to him over. Davis, come over here. I need to talk to you for a minute.
Thank you, Charles. Really appreciate it, man. Thank you so much.
Be good, guys.
Charles Davis from CBS with us here on GCR.
I
appreciate
love that
him doing
story.
that. Yeah, it's
His
tremendous.
dad saying,
right?
That's a good team.
You might be the weak link over there. And they are. They're tremendous together, the three of them. It's a very good crew. Real quick, Stan, before we get to this break, and Bo's going to join us here early in the 11 a.m. hour, you posed a question to me before the show that I started to pose to some listeners on Twitter just to see what the responses would be. That question being, and I rephrased it because I said we got to separate the dates that they won the 3 World Series titles because we venture into hyperbole. Nothing can be better than winning a World Series.
I would agree with that.
But given everything from last night, given clinching the division and the lease being announced, where does it go on your list of your favorite days, your favorite nights?
And what are people saying?
A few are lining up with you. A few of them, I'll give you a couple. Jake, this beats the Cal Statue game and the Young Double, which were previously my 2 best. The Cal Statue game was fun. I think that in part kind of shows age a little bit. Like, and Jake, I would probably acknowledge this because I know Jake. He's a little bit younger.
Yeah.
That just his way of saying he wasn't around for 21-31. Like if 21-31 isn't at the top of, I'm trying to think of what else could be higher on the.
It's the 21-31 game is sort of a baseball date more than an Orioles date. Because it's such an individual.
That's a fair,
record,
but it was here, and it was our.
Those 2 days were amazing.
Correct.
There's no question about it. But it wasn't my idea. But somebody in the Orioles said to me, "I just want to throw this out there. It's an interesting topic. We were talking about it internally. Is this the greatest day in Oriole franchise history?" and it certainly jumps into the top
in the yeah, sure,
10,
right, sure.
You know.
I'll give you a couple more.
Yeah, go ahead.
Slump Busters, it might be at the top because of both things occurring within hours of each other. The Cal games were great. The Young Double was electric. It's not surprising to me that those are the ones that stand out, that 21-31, Delman Young sort of stand out as being amongst the top memories of non-World Series. He also points out, even though we lost the last game of the 82 season, that series was amazing and, of course, set the stage for 83. I think a lot of people share memories, and, of course, Earl and the whole thing from 82. I think that stands out for a lot of people. But and the Margaret, my heart is so full about last night. You could see how much last night meant to the fans, the players, the organization. There were so many hands both here and above that touched this team. So it sounds like she's saying that's moving high on her list.
What about opening day of when they opened the ballpark?
In 92?
Yeah, 92. Yeah.
Dave says, Glenn, it wouldn't be at the top of the list for me, but it certainly was a really good night. I don't know that it even compares to 94 just because, or sorry, not 94, 2014. I don't know how I read 14 as 94. I don't know that it even compares 2014 just because it had been so much longer between them winning the division titles that one felt like an almost euphoric release that I don't know that we can compare this one to.
Yeah.
And I think that's a fair, like they went 17 years the last time. They went 9 this time, right? It was twice as long of a drought between winning the division the last time. So I can understand why somebody would say, hey, maybe that one felt even more special than last night felt, right? Like I can get that. But I do think that you're getting your answer, which is that people are
it's in the conversation.
Sure.
Yeah. Troy on Facebook also chimes in, and it came to my mind as well, the Robert Andino game against
I hate that we still
I know.
I hate that.
I know it's really hard to measure.
It's such a nothing.
Right? I hate it. I hate and it's and then I hate feeling that way because then it feels like I am yucking someone's yum. I just the way that we talk about that game bothers me because
they showed it at the game last night.
I get that
I think that's a mistake.
I think that it's sad that we feel so much about it because it meant, as to Stan's point, zero. I've been through this before. Kyle and I used to fight about this all the time, and I hated doing it because I like Robert Andino, and I get that it was a neat moment.
Right,
but
it was a neat moment.
I wish that we would talk about it like that. Hey, given where things were, it was neat to do something. But to talk about it as like a great moment in Orioles history just burns my ass.
Yeah. I'm
in my lifetime.
And that was what Kyle would always say, like, well, we don't have a lot. Like, I get it, but that's what makes it sad.
The bar so
right?
low. Don't set the bar that low.
I don't set the bar.
I understand. I'm not beating up Troy because I get it. I do get it.
One person setting the bar, but collectively, that game meant absolutely nothing.
And that's why
it was a game on the way to being relevant again.
Correct, and that's
nothing more, nothing less.
A lot of people have suggested it was the moment that begat the 2012 Orioles, and so it's grown in its legacy because of that. And we are really doing a lot. We're doing the most to try to make that a thing. I wish that we could talk about the moments that actually mattered and separate.
What was the event last year the Orioles had that they brought that in as a?
It was the anniversary of the ballpark, right?
Yeah. It was the Camden Yards.
Yeah,
I was
30
so
years.
ticked about that. That meant nothing.
I don't know if
they knocked the Red Sox out of the playoffs. The Rays, beat the it's.
But it was almost like we were admitting that we were losers.
That's what it's like.
Like we're such losers that just ruining somebody else. I understand, Griffin. That's the thing. I get it. It just, God, man.
Yeah. When you start to be really good, do you have to bring that up?
Right. We actually have memories now. We have things that matter. And I get it. It's a little bit awkward because Delman Young, had some personal issues. And so it's hard to celebrate Delman Young the same way. Although, I don't know. It feels like at some point. Even that one, I feel like I got frustrated about. Delman Young was an amazing moment. But they didn't win the World Series. They didn't even win a game in the ALCS that year. And we treat it in a hallowed, revered way that we don't treat other things.
That series against Kansas City is probably as down as I've ever been. From
more so than when they came back to Baltimore 1-1 in the ALCS in '96, because that to me is as empty. I started to have a feeling during the Tampa series that reminded me of when Brady Anderson hit the home run on Friday night of the '96 ALCS when they were tied 1-1. I just thought this series is not going back to New York. Like, they're winning the American League in Baltimore in 5 games. They had exorcised the demons of Jeffrey Mayer within days. Like, nothing has ever felt as empty to me as all of a sudden them yakking up all 3 games at home. It was the worst that I have ever felt. Even worse than a year later when they should have beaten the Indians and didn't. But
what about the thing about those series in 96 and 97 was you could not have predicted that we were about to enter the desert.
That's true, too. That is a good point.
14
That is a good point,
years.
and that is carried with us. Hey, cool opportunity this weekend for you to meet a Ravens Super Bowl champion as Green Turtle Canton is celebrating their grand opening. And Ravens Super Bowl champion Qadri Ismail will be there from 1 to 2 p.m. this Sunday as the game gets underway. He'll be hanging out, showing off his ring, taking pictures with fans, plus great specials all day long at the new Green Turtle at Canton Crossing. Make sure you go check it out. When we come back in, we will preview the Ravens side of Sunday's game. Bo Smolka joins us next. It's Glenn Clark Radio.
Come for a game, stay for everything else. Book an unforgettable fall getaway in Charm City. Enjoy only in Baltimore festivals, mouthwatering eats, and endless entertainment. Treat yourself to a staycation in the heart of downtown, or try one of the city's many charming neighborhood hotels. And don't miss out on packages for free parking, breakfast, and more. Plan your stay at baltimore.org/hotels.
Why bet with the big boys this football season? Instead, try your hand with the local book, Superbook Sports, this fall. Superbook Sports is the book next door. Just a dedicated team of the best odds makers in Las Vegas, making sure you get the best prices and parlays anywhere. And now, Superbook will give you a bonus of up to $250 when you sign up and wager on the same day and use the promo code GlennClark23, GLENNCLARK23. So bet with the best and use the promo code GlennClark23 this football season with Superbook Sports. Visit superbook.com for terms and conditions. Gambling problem? Call 1-800-GAMBLER.
6 chicken tenders made from fresh, never frozen Royal Farms world-famous chicken, a family-sized order of Western fries, honey mustard dipping sauce, and a 2-liter bottle of Dr. Pepper. It's Royal Farms' new Tucker's Tenders Meal. It's Justin Tucker's favorite, and at only $19.99, it'll be your favorite meal, too. The new Tucker's Tenders Meal, available only at Royal Farms. Now you can kick back, relax, and eat like a champion. Real fresh, real fast, Royal Farms.
Gambling can be a fun and entertaining experience, but there are risks involved. If you're planning on betting on the game at the casino or on your phone or computer, know your limit, stay within it. Set a budget and a time to stop. Remember, gambling isn't a financial solution, and it doesn't mix well with alcohol or drugs. Know the risks and have a plan before you begin gambling. For free and confidential services, call 1-800-GAMBLER 24/7 or go to helpmygamblingproblem.org.
The Maryland 5-Star returns to iconic Fair Hill October 19th to 22nd, marking the next chapter in Maryland's equestrian tradition. Best described as the triathlon of horse eventing, you won't want to miss this thrilling sport. Enjoy a fall festival with local fare, retail vendors, and tons of family fun. Come for the event and stay for the experience in Cecil County, home to the Chesapeake Bay waterfront with vibrant small towns and accommodations to suit every desire. It's the place to be in October. Visit Maryland5star.us for tickets.
It's a Maryland thing you wouldn't understand.
Where the waves meet the shore, you will find Dorchester County. Hi, this is Jimmy Charles. When I think of Maryland, I think Dorchester County on the eastern shore where it's open for making memories. Dorchester County, it's a Maryland thing. For more info, visit www.visitdorchester.org.
It's a Maryland thing. Hell yeah. It's a Maryland thing. Hell yeah.
What's up, everyone? It's Tyus Bowser, and I've had so much fun hanging out with Rita and putting up with Glenn the last couple years that I've decided to do it again. Season 3 of the Tyus Bowser Show is happening this year, as we'll be all over town, giving you the chance to get to know me and some of my teammates. As we talk football, life in general, and just say what needs to be said. You can find out more about the show by going to PressBoxOnline.com/Bowser. If you don't live in the area, you can watch the shows live on Facebook and YouTube. And if you miss one, you can listen Friday nights at 105.7 The Fan. So we'll see you all season long for the Tyus Bowser Show Show, a partnership of PressBox and Great Ace Memorabilia.
The next Tyus Bowser Show is Tuesday, October 3rd at Guilford Hall Brewery in Station North. It's brought to you by Superbook Sports. And don't forget, if you or a loved one has a gambling problem, visit helpmygamblingproblem.org.
Make the most out of every day in your Toyota RAV4. Available in hybrid or gas-only models. A RAV4 can get you where you want to go in style. Check out buyatoyota.com for deals on new RAV4s from your local Toyota dealer today.
All electronic tolling is here to stay in Maryland, and DriveEasyMD.com helps you cruise a little easier. We're Maryland's tolling resource, home to Easy Pass, pay-by-plate, and video tolling. It's never been easier to pay your way. DriveEasyMD.com. We'll keep you moving.
Make sure you're tuned in every Tuesday for PressBox fantasy football analyst Joe Serpico to get you ready for your Waiver Wire Wednesday, brought to you by Live Casino and Hotel. And if you have other fantasies you want fulfilled, subscribe to Glenn and Jeremy Kahn's OnlyFans page at... Wait, are people supposed to know about that?
Hey, back in here on GCR, Project Game Day returns this Sunday. It's brought to you by Superbook Sports and HelpMyGamblingProblem.org. We will see you immediately following Ravens-Browns, myself, Rita. Our special guest this week is Super Bowl champion Femi Ayambadejo will be joining us on Project Game Day, so looking forward to that. Hope that you will hang out with us. You can jump on the show by clicking the Zoom link that we share out on Twitter, and you can just watch the show at PressBoxOnline.com/GameDay, YouTube.com/PressBoxSports, or YouTube.com/PressBoxOnline, Facebook.com/PressBoxSports, Project Game Day this Sunday following Ravens-Browns. Stan the Fan Charles is in studio with us on a Friday edition of GCR. Every Friday, we like to get the word on who may or may not be playing on Sunday and look ahead to that game with our friend, Ravens beat reporter for us here at PressBox. He is Mr. Bo Smolka, and he's back with us on GCR. Bo, it's good to talk to you, sir. I know you got out to some baseball games this week, and it's a very exciting week for everybody here in Baltimore.
It is. I was off by 2 days. I was there Tuesday, and I'm going tomorrow, but I didn't get there last night.
Oh, man. I was there Wednesday and then missed last night, too. So you and I we painted literally the entire week except the right dates.
Well, what are you going to do? But it's a win. It's exciting time.
No question about it. Very exciting time. Bo, let me work backwards before we work forwards. My opinion of last Sunday and the column that I wrote and what Stan and I have talked about, my opinion was, as disappointing of a result as it was, as almost unfathomable of a result as it was, I don't think it really told that much of a story about the Ravens versus this is the NFL. There are goofy days when you're wildly depleted and the conditions are terrible and there's just a series of unfathomable events that occur at the end of the game between mistakes, between missed calls, whatever it is. And that takes, again, it does not take away responsibility, and it might end up biting them in the ass, but I don't think that, like, last week was a moment where the Ravens were proved to be fraudulent. What say you?
Yeah, I think that's true. I think in the course of 16 games, we're 17 now, you just have off days, and it's very hard not to. And, it stinks because you don't want to give away something. You only get to play so many times, and you feel like you can't afford to give one away, and they kind of gave one away. You have a 3-point lead with the ball, 2 minutes left in the game. That's your game to win. And they did it. They closed it out so efficiently the week before at Cincinnati, and this time they just couldn't do it. And it just turned into this kind of collection of errors over the last 2 minutes of regulation overtime. Quite frankly, beginning with the whole clock issue with the 2-minute warning and so forth. And I know there was a lot of confusion about that. The issue at the stadium was the clock showed under 2 minutes when the safety ended. The clock was under 2 minutes, and so. But it's so funny that happened because I saw the official at the back line of the end zone clearly signal he was out of the end zone, but I guess no one heard him blow the play dead. So suddenly there's this goofy time. You end up under 2 minutes, and then they go back and check, and it's over 2 minutes. And the Ravens have put on this fair catch that they clearly shouldn't have done. And John Harbaugh acknowledged as much Monday. They blew it, and they should have called a timeout when they realized they weren't on the same page. So then then on top of that, they make a bad punt. There's just, and then in overtime they have 2 possessions, and on both possessions they fail. Right? They throw Lamar Jackson just throws behind Zay Flowers on a third down play where he is open. He's just open, a quick slant, and he throws behind him. And then on the next series, Isaiah Lakely drops the ball, and then Zay Flowers can't come up with a catch that people are screaming as pass interference. And I know, and I was among those who said, your best play in that game was Lamar Jackson running the ball. It just was. And in the overtime, they had 2 possessions, and Lamar Jackson did not run the ball. But I will say also, those plays were there to be made, and I wrote this last Sunday. Zay Flowers was open, and Isaiah Likely was dropped the ball. So you can argue the play calling, which I kind of did on the one hand, and the other hand, the plays they called were there. They just didn't execute them. So there's a lot of frustration, but if they win this week, then they will quickly forget that one. If they lose this week, this has the potential to kind of become a problem.
Can I just ask you, this is a little off-the-wall question, Bo, but was Sunday's performance by Lamar part of the reason Greg Roman designed the offense the way he did? Was it sort of letting him have too much freedom? I don't know. It just felt odd.
Well, it didn't look the game Sunday didn't really look like what you thought this offense was going to look like with all the this new offense. It didn't look like a new offense really. Their best play was Lamar Jackson running the ball, and that's been the case for like 3 years.
Yeah.
They weren't passing it all downfield, and I know that they didn't have Beckham rather, and then Bateman got hurt late. But I got the sense that they just felt that conditions weren't great. Lamar Jackson wasn't getting a lot of time, and everything was short. I mean, Rashad Bateman had 1 catch for 6 yards, and Zay Flowers' longest play was 8 yards. So that's not what they expected this offense to be. So it didn't look like what this offense hopes to be for sure.
He is PressBox Ravens beat writer Bo Smolka. He's with us on GCR. Bo, obviously some of that was the conditions. Some of it certainly was losing, after you had already lost your first running back, losing your next 2 running backs after that. And I guess whereas we now dive into the injury portion of the conversation, the good news kind of starts there is that it looks like on the offensive side of the ball, well, not at wide receiver, but on the offensive line and running back at least, reinforcements appear to be coming this week.
Well, I mean, you hope so, right? I mean, Ronnie Stanley and Tyler Linderbaum were back at practice, which was a really good sign because obviously this is a tenacious Cleveland defensive front. So I expect that both of them will be listed as questionable. I expect John Harbaugh will offer nothing except a referral to the injury report when it comes out. So I'm not expecting a lot of clarity there. They won't be 100% for sure, and that's a challenge. But they do think they're going to have Linderbaum. I mean, Linderbaum's back on the practice field, and Ronnie Stanley's back on the practice field. Justice Hill is back on the practice field, and Gus Edwards, who had gone into the concussion protocol, or I'm not sure he ever formally went into the protocol. He left to be evaluated for concussion, but he's back to practicing full, so it looks like he's good to go. So those are all significant positive developments. As you mentioned, though, no Odell Beckham, no Rashad Bateman. It looks like neither of them will play. So that changes things quite a bit. These are, again, people you thought were going to be kind of some of the centerpieces of this newfound passing attack. And if they're not available, then it'll probably be Zay Flowers, Nelson Aguilar. They'll probably have to call up Laquan Treadwell from the practice squad, and he'll get his first chance to play for this team. Of course, they also lost Tylan Wallace, who's been more of a special teams guy than a receiver so far this year. I think he had 1 snap as a receiver. But effectively, you had 6 wide receivers on the roster, and 3 of them aren't going to play. So you're digging into the practice squad more than you wanted.
You didn't mention, Bo, you didn't mention Duvernay. Did they view him as just sort of a special teams plus a little bit?
No, I think it'll be Flowers, Aguilar, Duvernay, and Treadwell.
Okay.
If I had to bet who the 1 through 4 will be. And we saw Duvernay. He hasn't done a lot on the receiving end. He did a few of those jet sweeps like he did last year. Although I've said all summer I think Zay Flowers is more dangerous on those than Duvernay is. But no, I mean, Duvernay will be out there. His role as a receiver has clearly been reduced with the addition of Beckham, Flowers, and
Aguilar.
Aguilar.
Yeah.
But again, it's a numbers game. He'll have to be out there this week.
Other than that, though, it's not. I mean, for what it's worth, it is nice that they actually had some depth at wide receiver, so there are NFL players available to put on the roster instead of some of the guys they've ran out over the years. But yeah, the other side of it, of course, is that unfortunately there doesn't appear to be any reinforcements coming, at least on the injury front in the edge rush, and so they had to go from the outside. It's crazy as to think that you could sign a Kyle Van Noy who didn't have a training camp and expect him to be ready to go. I don't know that they have a choice at this point, Bo. They kind of might need Kyle Van Noy to be ready to go.
Oh, I don't think there's any question they need to be ready to go. I think he'll play. I mean, and I think last year it might have been, if I remember right, Jason Pierre-Paul played the first week they signed him too, and he played much more than I expected him to play. I'd have to go back, and I'm not positive about that, but it seems to me they signed Jason Pierre-Paul, and we thought, well, it'll probably be a week or two away, and then that 4 or 5 days later, he played something like 40 snaps. But if you don't have Kyle Van Noy this week, you're right back again. Odafe Owe is out. It looks like David Ojabo will be out. Tyus Bowser is not eligible to return yet. So that's 3 people that are out. You're down to Jadeveon Clowney, who has played very well in the time they've had him here. And then you're down to Tavius Robinson, a rookie who you probably thought was a year away from needing to contribute. And Jeremiah Moon, who's been a 2-year practice squad player who played his very first game in the regular season on Sunday. And those are the 3 that are kind of the last 3 standing, with Ojabo, Owe, and Bowser all gone. Malik Harrison can slide outside and play outside as a possibility. But I think Kyle Van Noy will play. I mean, John Harbaugh said they're not going to bring guys in if they're not in shape and ready. And, again, we can't see much of how practice works. John Harbaugh said when I asked him on Wednesday about Van Noy, he said, look, we love him as a player. We saw him a lot during the Ravens-Patriots games. I've always liked him as a player. He's in shape. He looks good. And the way Harbaugh said it was, he'll be out there if we need him. I got news for you. They're going to need him.
It certainly appears to be the case.
Yeah.
I mean, unless Kyle Hamilton can just do all, and I know he was banged up, but he got back to practice, unless he can just do all of the edge rushing himself for the rest of the season, I think you're right that they're going to need him. Bo, the feeling that I have about this is that, like, to your point that you made earlier, this is more important in the context of having lost last week. I feel like there is more to gain than there is to lose. Like, it would hurt to lose, and if it sends them into a bit of a spiral with other road games coming, that becomes problematic. But it feels like there's more to get. If the Ravens were to win this game, they're suddenly 3-1 and 2-0 on the road in the division. That's a huge benefit to a football team to be stockpiling road division wins. I'm not trying to suggest that it wouldn't hurt them if they lost, but it feels to me like there's a greater benefit than there is a harm just for this one game in a vacuum.
I'd agree with that. I mean, in the division, if you can win your road games in the division, that is huge, and they already have one. So, absolutely. If they're suddenly 2-0 in the division with both of those wins on the road, that would be extremely big. And I know a lot of people are expecting a Browns win based strictly on the Ravens' physical health.
Mm-hmm.
That was also what people thought in Cincinnati, and the Ravens went in and played great. Now, the Browns' defense is something else than what they saw with the Cincinnati defense, at least what we've seen so far in these first few games this year. But I have every expectation the Ravens are going to go in there and play a good game. It just seems they play at their best, and this may be a credit to Harbaugh. It just seems they play at their best when the deck seems most stacked against them. I don't know if there's any more to explain to it than that, but it just seems that that's when they produce some of their best work.
I think it's
fair.
fair.
So I think they are going to go in there. Will they win? I don't know, because it's a decent Browns team, and they're banged up, and I think some of their injuries really were exposed last week in a game they should have won. But to your point, Glenn, I think that's a fair argument. There's certainly a lot to gain, and if they walk out of there with the win and 2-0 in the conference or in the division, then that Colts game can quickly kind of fade into the rearview mirror.
Bo, the game by Kyle
Hamilton, yes. Yes.
Last week. How does that game happen when we hadn't really seen that out of Hamilton before? Was it just sort of the way that game the matchups, or is that something that Mike McDonald can use as a weapon now, or does he have to be careful how often he uses it?
Well, it happens, I think, because the Colts didn't look at all ready for it.
Yeah.
And, I mean, he came 3 times completely untouched.
Yeah.
Now, he did have 2 sacks last year playing out of the slot. Remember, last year they had Chuck Clark and Williams, or when he was hurt, Geno Stone, but they had 3 safeties, and they would come in. Hamilton frequently played in the slot last year, and he did blitz a couple times. Or he had 2 sacks blitzing last year, both times coming off the slot. And he hadn't had any sacks at Notre Dame, so this was kind of a new role for him anyway. But they've always thought that's a strength of his. His size is significant. He's just they thought he could contribute in that way. Now, when Chuck Clark left, all the talk this summer was, hi, Hamilton, he'll drift back and he'll be the traditional safety where we thought he was going to be when we drafted him. But as I asked John Harbaugh on Monday, when you watch him play the way he played against the Colts, how can you not consider using him more in that way? And, John Harbaugh said, yeah, he can do a lot of different things, and we're going to use him a lot of different ways. So how it happens, I think the Ravens see his size, they see his speed off the edge, and they see a way that he can basically track down a quarterback. And you have to account for him if you're on that offense, if you see him in there in the slot. Now, he sometimes will play the slot because they like his size at 6'4", 220 or whatever he is, 200. They like his size matched up with a tight end or a taller receiver who's in the slot. But now they have to account for the fact that he might come firing off the edge, and he can obviously be an impact player there. And we also saw him blow up a screen pass, a bubble screen where he fought through a block and got the guy down. And we also saw him bat a pass at 6'4". So he can have I think you're going to see quite a bit of him in the slot. The challenge, though, is now you got to figure out who's taking his place. Now, Marcus Williams started practicing this week and was back to full, and that could be a big development because when Marcus Williams went down with his pec injury, a lot of people thought it could be most of or all of the season. And then the Ravens did not put him on injured reserve, and that told you they thought it might not be as long as they thought. And he's back to practicing. He was a full participant yesterday. So there's a case where you might be able to go with Marcus Williams, Stone, Hamilton all on the field together, and Hamilton gets this role where he plays in the slot and he can create havoc that way.
He is Bo Smolka. At B Smolka on Twitter is how you follow him. PressBoxOnline.com to see his stuff. And if you haven't picked up the print issue of PressBox yet, he's got the cover story all about Lamar Jackson and the contract era. Go get it today at your neighborhood Royal Farms, any of those hundreds of locations around town. Bo, always appreciate you, sir. Have a great week. We'll talk to you again next Friday, all right?
All right, thank you. Take care.
It's Bo Smolka, PressBox Ravens beat writer, with us here on a Friday edition of GCR. Also, with that topic that we were discussing earlier, Stan, about where last night goes, this is fair. Dave says we can't diminish the fact that it was their 100th win as well. That is something that I haven't seen in my life from an Orioles team. I feel like we're missing how truly special this team is. Teams that we thought were better than this didn't win 100 games.
Yeah.
I brought that up. Like, this is really staggering. Like, it's staggering that that's where we're at for a team that we still feel like, well, they probably can't win a World. Or they,
It speaks to how good they were, but the 100 wins is part and parcel of the fact that the Red Sox and the Yankees were both much weaker than we thought they
That's true, but like the Rays are the second best team in the American League, right? And they had to go up against them head to head this season, and they handled them this season head to head, right? Like you're right, that is part of the story, and it didn't end up being 5, although none of them were the Oakland A's either, right? Like none of them were garbage. It wasn't until late in the season that we realized the Yankees and the Red Sox would be non-competitive. They were still competitive threats for the first half of the season as the year went on. I do think it's worth noting that the 100 win part. I saw a number that something that Dan Connolly said last night that stood out to me in giving context to 100 wins. I think he said that like Cal Ripken played 21 years, never won 100 games. Yeah. Right. Cal Ripken played 21 seasons in a Hall of Fame career and was never on a team that won 100 in a regular season. Yeah. I think that's a relevant context for how significant it is to win 100 games, and I think that is part of the story from last night. Also, congratulations to the Norfolk Tides, who won the International League last night while the Orioles were celebrating.
Who did they beat?
Durham.
Durham.
They beat Durham for the and that's Tampa, right?
Tampa.
So how
Yeah.
about that? How about that?
Take that, Tampa.
Now they get to play the Dodgers for the AAA National Championship. The Oklahoma City Dodgers will be the opponent on Sunday night. I did not realize
that a one game.
that's a one game.
And it's Sunday night.
Sunday night, so there's no Major League Baseball on Sunday night because everybody plays at 3:00 on the final day of the season. So Sunday night on MLB Network, the Norfolk Tides and Oklahoma City for the AAA National Championship.
It's too late to put together a PressBox watch party
for the AAA National Championship. We could see if maybe one of our friends wants us to come out and hang out. I don't know. I'm not opposed to it.
Come to my place.
Yeah, maybe we'll do that, like we would do for the fights. I'll come in with some beer. I'll say, "Here's my contribution," and I will walk out the door with the exact same beer because Stan said nobody here drinks that. Works out for me. Stan, of course, if you're betting the AAA National Championship, the place to do it is at Superbook. I don't even know if there's a line. I don't even know if Superbook does. A lot of places do AAA betting. Like, you can bet AAA baseball in a lot of places. I actually don't know if Superbook does it. I'll check that right now. But first, I'll tell you, use the code GlennClark23 or StanCharles23 when you get your bets in. Superbook.com. Download the Superbook app. When you do that, you will get a same-day first bet match up to $250 from Superbook.com and the Superbook app. It does not
first bet match.
Doesn't look like they do AAA betting with Superbook. Doesn't look like you can bet the AAA National Championship. That is.
Maybe you can message Glenn directly and
right. Yeah, express it with me.
You can say Glenn is booking bets.
Correct. But, for example, if you want to bet the Orioles to win the American League right now, they have moved into the role of favorite. Earlier in the week, the Astros were still the favorite. The Astros have dipped to the third favorite. The Orioles are now, according to Superbook, the favorites to win the American League at plus 300. So you want to bet that, you can get 3-1 odds.
Because about a week ago, people would have thought Houston was going to win their division. Now it's much more of a
They got to play in the wild card series. So it would be interesting to see if Houston comes through the wild card series, if they would go back to being favorites at that point going into the division series. But the Orioles have taken over the favorite role in the American League. The Rangers second, the Astros now third at 4-1.
So what do you get with the Orioles?
Orioles are 3-1.
3-1.
3-1. And to win the World Series, the Orioles are the third favorite behind just the Braves and the Dodgers. Orioles 6.5 to 1 to win the World Series. If you want to bet that right now at Superbook. When we come back in, I want to talk to Stan for a minute about Brooks Robinson, and then Roy Firestone is going to join us, one of Brooks' closest friends, to share his memories as well. That's on the way. It's Glenn Clark Radio. The Baltimore County Police Department is now hiring with competitive salaries, including for experienced police officers, starting salaries between over $68,000 and over $82,000 based on your prior service time, accepting up to 7 years of service times with only 6 weeks in the academy, minimum of 2 years prior experience. And police cadet starting salaries at over $32,000 must be between the ages of 18 and 20, but you can apply starting at 17 and a half. Must have a high school diploma or GED equivalent at the time of the hire, U.S. citizen at the time of the hire, and a valid driver's license. So if you have a passion for service and want a career for life, now is the time to join the Baltimore County Police Department. Call 410-887-5542 or visit joinbaltimorecountypd.com.
What company has the expertise to make your home healthier by purifying your air and killing all viruses, allergens, and bacteria? A.J. Michaels, Heating and Air Conditioning in Baltimore and Annapolis. AJMichaels.com.
Gambling can be a fun and entertaining experience, but there are risks involved. If you're planning on betting on the game at the casino or on your phone or computer, know your limit, stay within it. Set a budget and a time to stop. Remember, gambling isn't a financial solution, and it doesn't mix well with alcohol or drugs. Know the risks and have a plan before you begin gambling. For free and confidential services, call 1-800-GAMBLER 24/7 or go to helpmygamblingproblem.org.
All aboard! The Orioles
Orioles train keeps on moving, and it's ahead of schedule. The Birds are motoring towards a playoff run here in 2023 as their magic number keeps getting smaller and smaller. I'm Paul Valley, and you can find me along with Zach Goodman every Saturday from 10 a.m. to noon right here on the Bat-Around. We'll navigate you through the playoff push as the Orioles look to put an exclamation point on what is turning out to be the best season of the last 40 years. So join us on the Orioles train, and let's enjoy the ride together right here on the Bat-Around.
Visit Harford County this fall. Celebrate arts across Harford September 15th through the 30th with dance, theater, music, and visual arts. September 29th through October 1st is the largest Italian festival in Maryland, featuring entertainment, cooking demonstrations, a bocce tournament, and family fun. If you're headed to the Maryland 5-Star, stay and play in Harford County. While you're there, enjoy the scenic views atop the King and Queen seats and experience pumpkin patches, corn mazes, and fall brews along their Harford Libation Trail. For more info, head to visitharford.com. Maryland open.
Picking a restaurant to try for the first time? Let's look at the Costas Inn. Here's a few checklist items. Quality of the food? Check. Quality of service? Check. Does the restaurant have plenty of free parking? Check. And finally, does the restaurant have delicious steamed crabs, crab cakes, crab soup, and specials galore? Check, check, check. Costas Inn, 4100 North Point Boulevard. They check all the boxes.
The latest edition of PressBox is available now. On the cover, Bo Smolka dives into what's next for Lamar Jackson after receiving one of the biggest contracts in football history. Is Lamar ready to take the Ravens to the next level, now with a new offensive coordinator and new wide receivers? Also inside, we look at what new football coaches Brian Newberry and Pete Shinnick bring to Navy and Towson, respectively. And we meet players from the college football and soccer programs around the state. PressBox is available for free at over 500 area locations, including 60 Royal Farm stores. And you can always find the entire edition as well as the best daily coverage of the O's, Ravens, and Terps at PressBoxOnline.com.
6 chicken tenders made from fresh, never frozen Royal Farms world-famous chicken, a family-sized order of Western fries, honey mustard dipping sauce, and a 2-liter bottle of Dr. Pepper. It's Royal Farms' new Tucker's Tenders Meal. It's Justin Tucker's favorite, and at only $19.99, it'll be your favorite meal, too. The new Tucker's Tenders Meal, available only at Royal Farms. Now you can kick back, relax, and eat like a champion. Real fresh, real fast, Royal Farms.
Come for a game, stay for everything else. Book an unforgettable fall getaway in Charm City. Enjoy only in Baltimore festivals, mouthwatering eats, and endless entertainment. Treat yourself to a staycation in the heart of downtown, or try one of the city's many charming neighborhood hotels. And don't miss out on packages for free parking, breakfast, and more. Plan your stay at baltimore.org/hotels.
Don't forget about Project Game Day after every Ravens game this season. It's kind of like this show, except Rita's also there, so I actually think it's pretty good. But hey, you're already here now, so why don't you go ahead and keep listening to GCR.
All right, Griffin, you want to remind everybody of what's coming up at Live Casino and Hotel?
Yeah, I want to tell you about the second chance drawing coming up right now at the FanDuel Sportsbook at Live Casino in Hotel, Maryland. If luck wasn't on your side in a recent bet, well, you can turn those losses into winning opportunities with the second chance to win promotion. Between now and January 4th, all Live Casino and Hotel Maryland Rewards members will be able to enter their losing bet slips into the second chance to win drum. And 2 nights a week, 20 different winners will be chosen. Prizes range from Live Casino and Hotel Maryland apparel, sports and social ultimate happy hour, and cash and free play prizes worth up to $500. Drawings are going to be held every Thursday and Monday, so do not miss it. Go over to the FanDuel Sportsbook at Live Casino and Hotel Maryland. At Arundel Mills, must be 21. Please play responsibly. For help, visit mdgamblinghelp.org or call 1-800-GAMBLER.
Stan, Roy Firestone's going to join us in a few minutes.
Yep.
You and I spent a couple of minutes yesterday during our picks segment talking about Brooks Robinson. I know you wrote a column about Brooks and some of the role that he's played with PressBox. You brought in today the special edition that PressBox ran years ago.
Commemorative magazine entitled Brooks Robinson, the Original Oriole, title given to us by Jim Henneman.
I just wondered if you could, I know it's personal because I know you were close with Brooks, and I'm sure that element of it. But I'm not trying to show your age, but unlike when I did the show on Wednesday, admittedly, yep. I said at the end of the show, I worry that I feel fraudulent because I never saw Brooks Robinson play baseball.
Right. There's a big difference in that regard.
And I understand all of the other element of it.
But
I know
you saw Brooks Robinson be Brooks
the man.
Robinson.
And what Brooks Robinson means to me is overwhelming. I mean, I I still when I listened to I went and listened to Bobby Grich again, and I started crying again.
What
like,
Grich have to say?
Oh, it was so powerful, Stan. It was so powerful.
Where was it, on Facebook or?
That was during the show on Wednesday.
Oh, he was.
Yeah,
he was
he
on
called
with
in
you.
on Wednesday.
Okay.
And it was just unbelievable. What
I'll have to go
Brooks
back and listen to that.
essentially saying, I was only this because of Brooks. Like, I mean, and walking through everything he modeled and patterned after what he learned from Brooks in every way that he played the game and the way that he handled himself away from the game. Like, he did not make any bones about it. Like, and Bobby Grich was a hell of a baseball player, obviously.
Terrific.
There's an argument for Bobby Grich as a Hall of Famer, right?
Yep.
Like, and he says it's because of Brooks Robinson, and it'll give you goosebumps. But I wonder if you could tell people about Brooks Robinson, the baseball player, too.
Well, I'm in a very rare company in Baltimore because nobody agrees with me. I would take Mike Schmidt as my all-time third baseman. Okay,
man.
Okay.
Hold
on
a second. Run you out of town all of a sudden.
Hold on a second. Then I go one step further. The best third base I ever saw played. Now, Mike Schmidt was because he's 500 and some home runs. That's why I would take him over Brooks Robinson, the player. Defensively, the greatest 6 weeks of third base I ever saw, or 10 weeks, was Todd Cruz in 1983.
Okay.
I never saw. But having said all of that, you never saw anybody do the things that we've grown accustomed to seeing with highlight plays. Brooks Robinson, his entire defensive career was nothing but defensive highlights. I mean, he was absolutely remarkable, consistent beyond belief. Wasn't the quickest guy, and he admits it. Didn't have the strongest arm, but his footwork was so impeccable that he was able to get rid of the ball incredibly quickly. And just a tremendous clutch hitter. Brooks Robinson just would produce when the moment called upon him to produce. You know, didn't have 3,000 hits, only a 267 average, but man, you put him up in a clutch situation, and Brooks Robinson, it seemed, would always deliver. He was just a remarkable, remarkable player.
1970, the World Series.
Yeah.
It because we're so far removed from it, it doesn't come up when we discuss any longer the greatest World Series performances of all time.
Yeah.
But my God,
it was absolutely unbelievable. My good friend and his dear friend Boog Powell always says, "Man, I got you into the Hall of Fame by scooping all those balls up, those throws you made." And Boog had a great defensive series, but Brooks Robinson, the plays he made against Lee May, against Johnny Bench, and I forget who the others were, but it was a one-man show. Never seen anything like it. The probability of having that many difficult plays to make every single one of them was just absolutely remarkable.
Yeah, and to hit 500 at the same.
to
Yeah,
hit-
right.
yeah,
Like,
and
and
to hit
on top of that, to be on fire with the bat, it's insane. You have obviously you had interactions and relationships with all the greatest here, and John Unitas and Cal Ripken, and even into this era, and Ray Lewis, and we'll see where maybe one day we talk about Lamar Jackson or an Adley Rutschman or a Gunnar Henderson, but I don't know that there can ever be, and I said this a couple times this week. I can't speak to what Stan Musial's relationship with St. Louis was. I can't speak to Ted Williams in Boston. I can't speak to other players in other cities. But the feeling that we had and the overwhelming love affair between this man and this city, to take nothing away from any of the other great athletes that have come along, I don't know how it could possibly compare to any of those others. I just can't fathom there being anything quite like this.
I'm going to tell you the difference between them. Stan Musial was loved in St. Louis. I'm sure Willie Mays was loved in San Francisco. Carl Yastrzemski in Boston. But Brooks Robinson wasn't just loved in Baltimore and Maryland. I got to know when we did this magazine and we go up to Secaucus, New Jersey to sell it at collectors shows, with Molly Ann Brisigliano, who used to put on all the shows up there. The fans in New York and New Jersey who were lifelong Yankee fans absolutely revered Brooks Robinson.
Wow.
I don't know that that's the case. We all appreciate Stan Musial, from afar, but I don't know that we revered him the way that people revered Brooks Robinson, and it was more because of not the player, but how he was on the field and how he was as a person, which at the end of the day were more important than the great plays, and it was how he comported himself as a sportsman and a gentleman.
I mentioned, and I had so many wonderful interactions with Brooks in my life.
Yep.
But the last time that I spent with Brooks was the night that we were at Citron. And, he was just there on his own. And yet, still, this deep into his life, having no obligation to do anything, came over and worked our room and made,
it was unbelievable.
Made grown people cry still all these years later, which blew me away. It was just another reminder of that's Brooks Robinson. That's what he's willing to do on a night like this.
I did hear one negative about Brooks Robinson.
Oh, you heard a negative? This is one more negative than I've ever heard in my life.
Our former football writer, Joe Platania.
Okay.
Joe Platania was batting against Brooks's son in
Okay.
a Little League game.
Okay.
And his son struck out Brooks Robinson, and he turned around, and there was Brooks going, yeah!
Poor little Joe Platania, crushed by his hero, celebrating him striking out.
I had a very similar circumstance. In 1992, I went to Oriole Fantasy Camp.
Yeah.
Okay. And I had first of all, an amazing time, but I also performed amazingly well. My manager was Grant Jackson. We were Bucks Buccaneers.
Okay.
We ended up winning the championship, having largely to do with a submarining right-hander.
Stan Charles. Yeah.
Well, if you finish first, you played on Saturday. You played the first 3-inning game against the Oriole Hall of Fame. All the old Orioles, and I was pitching, and it was the first time the whole week that my arm hurt the night before. But I can't blame it. It didn't hurt that morning, but it hurt that night. It was so. I said, how am I going to pitch? But I woke up, didn't bother me at all. Leadoff hitter was Al Bumbry. Line single to right field. Next batter was Paul Blair. Line single to center. So suddenly, by the way, my ERA against the Campers was under 1
right.
for like 13 or 15 innings. I've got the 2 men on. I then had Lee May up, and I quick pitched him with 2 strikes and cross-fired him rather than submarined him, and I got what should have been a called third strike. The umpire didn't want to call Lee May out. The next pitch, he hit it to the wall. So now I'm getting crushed in this first inning. I sort of, not imitating Al Roboski, I'm rubbing up the ball with my back to the field, right?
The Mad American.
I'm really, and I turn around, and there's my catcher. He's got Brooks Robinson, and he's going, honey, I want to pitch to the next batter, and he wants to get his
take a picture. Yeah, right. You're pissed off. You're like, I just got tattooed by Lee May when I got squeezed at the plate. What the hell are you doing over there?
Put it into perspective what that day was about.
Roy's going to join us in just a second here, but obviously there's no way of it. I think it's very nice the Orioles are doing this public event on Monday.
Yep.
In fact, I got to tell you guys, I'm considering moving the time of Monday's show so that we're not doing the show at the same time as Brooks's memorial. It just seems like the smallest thing that we could do to say, we don't want to ask you to choose because we all want to celebrate Brooks on Monday.
Yep.
And so I'm leaning towards that, and I got to talk about it with Griffin and the powers that be here. But the plan right now, I think, is to be that maybe we start at 11 or 11:30, something like that on Monday, and. allow everybody the time to be there, and I think it'll be a wonderful outpouring.
I'm emceeing an event on Monday that was supposed to start at noon. It's at Pappas Restaurant in Cockeysville, the Maryland. The Babe Ruth.
Oh, this is the Mike Bordick. Yeah,
Mike Bordick thing. I'm emceeing that, and I got asked to move it to 1 o'clock.
Yeah.
So we're going to do that at 1 o'clock on Monday. Hope some of you come out to see it.
And you need tickets for that event, Stan?
Yeah, if you contact the
Babe Ruth Museum. Okay.
Yep.
And that'll be Monday afternoon. You and Mike Bordick, lunch and conversation and talking.
Sort of a preview of the postseason.
Very cool. Very cool. That's a very neat thing. All right. So this man, of course, is a broadcasting legend. And if you somehow don't know, Roy Firestone was also once the bat boy at spring training for the Baltimore Orioles, where he met one Brooks Robinson and developed a lifelong friendship. And it is a pleasure for us to welcome back into the program Mr. Roy Firestone, who is with us this morning. Roy, it's Glenn and Stan in Baltimore. I can only imagine how your emotions have been the last couple of days, but we really appreciate you joining us this morning.
Well, I appreciate you having me, Glenn. And hi, Stan. How you guys doing?
Good, Roy. Good, Roy.
You know, it's kind of ironic. I mean, I wrote about 5 essays this week, and I posted them on social media. And a lot of people said, I'm sorry for your loss, and I understand the sentiment, but it's not my loss. It's humanity's loss. It's baseball's loss. It's the community's loss. It's the loss of somebody a kind of person that we don't really see much these days, a generous with his heart person. I think as great a baseball player as he was, his heart led, his heart for the fans, his heart for the game, and as brilliant as he was as a baseball player, I think it's in the shadows of the brilliance as a human being as he was. And at the end of this little discussion here, Glenn and Stan, I'm going to, if it's okay with you, actually read my essay that I wrote.
Of course.
That's been shared literally thousands of times. But I just want people to know it ain't about me. This is about Baltimore and baseball and the community, not just in Maryland, but of man. I mean, I don't mean to sound too large about it, but it's true. The guy was one of a kind. He never, ever did or said a thing that divided people. He was always there, always as a friendly face. Boy, are we going to miss this guy.
Roy, I mentioned to Glenn, and I'm sure in St. Louis, the fans in St. Louis love Stan the Man Musial. I'm sure in Boston they love Carl Yastrzemski the way we do in Baltimore. I'm sure in New York they love Yogi Berra. But I got to tell you, when we came out with that magazine in 2007, and you wrote the piece in there, the memoir about being a bat boy, when we went up to New York and Secaucus, New Jersey at some collectors shows that Molly Ann Brasigliano ran with this magazine, I could not believe how revered he was from all the baseball fans in New York and New Jersey. It was just remarkable to me.
You know, it's funny, Stan. I don't think I ever heard him booed by an opposing team.
Yeah.
He certainly wasn't booed in the 70 World Series. You know, it's funny. I don't know if people noticed, but he was booed by the Oriole fans briefly when he represented the Players Union during the strike. This was back in the early 70s. I think it was for one at bat. He was actually booed, but he stood by his guns. He was a guy who believed in trying to help people, and at that time the union wasn't as strong as it is, of course, today. And Brooks was he wasn't what they call a rabble-rouser. He wasn't a troublemaker, but he just believed that people should be treated properly. And in that case, back in the early 70s, it was the players.
Yep.
And so he was part of the union with Marvin Miller. And he was very, very briefly booed. And I used to kid him about it. He goes, I try not to think about that, because he didn't like to rock the boat. He was really a person of love. And at the end of this broadcast conversation, I'm going to really try to discriminate between, being a fan and being beloved. And I'm going to do that at the end. But I want to tell you one quick story. Brooks, when Frank died, there was a memorial in Los Angeles, and Brooks called me and he said, where should I stay? He happened to try to do a little bit of an accent. They had that little Arkansas. Hey,
yeah.
And I'll tell about it later, but he always called me partner. Partner, where am I going to stay? And I said, you're staying with me. And like I was taking a stab. There's no chance he would stay with me. Do you know, after I battled with him for about 2 or 3 hours, he finally acquiesced, and he and Jim Palmer stayed with me for a weekend in my house. I don't know if people remember the old fan magazines, Tiger Beat, win a date with David Cassidy for the weekend. You know, that thing never happened for a fan, for those kids, those teeny boppers. But it really happened for me. Brooks stayed at my home. He slept in my bed. I slept in another room. And it was one of the most wonderful, warm, sweet, it was like a frat party the whole weekend. We watched basketball. He told us stories. We went out for dinner. And I just want to say one last thing before we get into this essay. When we went to dinner one night, myself and the person I was seeing at the time, and Brooks David, his son, and Jim Palmer and Brooks, I lifted a glass and I toasted him. And I said, listen, this is going to be corny, but I don't care. I've loved you. I've admired you my whole career, my whole life. Everything that came my way in one way or another had something to do with you, Brooks. I just want you to know that I love you. And then I started to cry. It got me. So Palmer, of course, is trying to needle me. Oh, come on, stop with this stuff. You know, and then Brooks David took his glass and toasted me, and he said, Roy, I want you to know that I love you because you love my dad. Oh, it was just a beautiful moment, and I'll never forget it as long as I live. And I stayed in touch with Brooks until about 3 weeks ago. I could tell he was really, fading, and there's no other way for me to put it. But he still had the energy to ask me how I was doing. And that's such a Brooks thing. It really is.
Boy, that's powerful, Roy. Roy Firestone is with us. Roy, if we want to hear your essay. We were honored to hear your essay, but if I could before that, I just wonder, because I think everyone knows, your history being the bat boy, and that's how you made the connection. But to that point, how did it go from bat boy and getting to know Brooks to a friendship that lasted for decades, and he would come stay with you at your house? Like what were the next steps that led to that?
It's a great question, and it's a question I not often asked. I think my career was launched because I interviewed Brooks Robinson with a little tape recorder for my high school newspaper, and it didn't go. I recorded it in Miami Stadium after the practices were over. He was always one of the last to leave, and he did this lovely interview for this kid whose voice hadn't even changed yet. And I went home all excited, played it back. It didn't record. So I had to go back the next day and beg him. And not very much, by the way, did I have to beg him. He said, sure, let's do it again. Let's just do it again. And we did it again. And I said to myself, I'll never forget it. Boy, I'd like to do this. I'd like to interview people. I'd like to be around ball players in locker rooms. And I was in the great locker rooms with Brooks and Frank and Boog and Palmer and Cuellar and all those guys, and all the way through to the to the 70s when they finally broke it off. But it was to me the catalyst for me becoming a broadcaster. But more than that, guys, it was the ethic. It was the ethic and the way he carried himself that I wanted to follow. I heard Palmer the other night on the broadcast say, "Who do you want to be like?" I always wanted to be like Brooks, and I guarantee you there are thousands, maybe millions of people in the Eastern Seaboard who wanted to be like Brooks growing up. And I can tell you this, I named my son after Brooks. A lot of people did in Baltimore, but there's never, ever going to be a name like Brooks Robinson or a person like Brooks Robinson.
It's an impossible standard. It really is an impossible standard.
Roy, I just have to tell you, you were how old, 14 when the tape recorder didn't work?
14 or 15, yeah. I couldn't even drive.
I had
my mother drop me off. I don't know if you remember Miami Stadium.
Sure.
It was way in the back. It was not in the nicest area, to tell you the truth. But and he was always the first one in, and he wanted to play pepper with me. It was just a stunning thing. I was a terrible bat boy, just so you know. I couldn't. I just all I wanted to do. And Brooks used to make a joke. He says, "Hey, Firestone, you got to go get the bat, the left-handed bat. Put it back down." And I really believed there were left-handed bats, something to do with the grip. I thought there were left-handed bats, and I was running all over. And it was his joke, and he actually said it at his statue speech. When he singled me out. And one more comment before I move into the essay. The greatest thrill in my public life, the greatest thrill, is when Brooks called me and asked me to introduce his statue at Camden Yards in 2012, September 2012. The fact that I even got through that speech without crying was a bit of a feat for myself. I couldn't believe I got through it. It was such an honor. I remember when he said, "I want you to do it because I don't want to hurt any of my other teammates. If Boog does it, then Jim Palmer will be upset. And if Frank does it, then Palmer." So he said, "I want you to do it." I said, "I'll take it, whatever reason you got."
Yeah, don't let him change his mind.
And it's on YouTube, and you can see it. It's Roy Firestone, Brooks Robinson Days. It's a powerful piece. But this is another essay.
Yeah.
If I may, gentlemen, I don't know how much time we have,
Please.
but I'd like to just
take your time.
Okay. Because some people in sports are respected, and some are admired, and some are held in awe. Others are appreciated. Some of them are begrudgingly given their, quote, props when they succeed. But, there's a difference between all those things and someone who's beloved. The person who has truly earned not just admiration, but love, real love. I've met maybe tens of thousands of great athletes in my time. Many held the public's fascination because of what they did in games. But precious few of them were truly beloved. Brooks Robinson was. He was beloved because of the way he played the game, of course, but he was really cherished and treasured. He touched the hearts of so many, not just because of his play, but because of his manner. I was around Brooks a lot as a player, and even more after he retired, and he was always the same, gracious and humble, and always respected the fan. He didn't even like to use the word fan. He always preferred to call them friends. And maybe that was the key to Brooks's appeal. He was like an old friend, familiar and kind and warm and easy to be with, and always unselfish. I never saw Brooks Robinson stiff a kid for an autograph or avoid grown-ups who wanted a picture or to tell them some story about him when they saw him play. And he must have heard thousands of those stories. And he gave the same response, a smile, a handshake, sometimes even a hug. He never got impatient with people. He felt he owed them his time. I asked Brooks to make calls to sick people in hospitals over the years. He unfailingly made those calls. I knew one person who had one dying wish to speak to Brooks Robinson before he died. Well, Brooks was told about it, and he called that person who died only hours after getting the call. Brooks loved people. People loved him. He never rolled his eyes or privately mocked when people asked him for something that meant something to them. He loved being Brooks Robinson, and at the same time, never took himself too seriously or needed any special treatment. Somebody once said, in all the time he was Brooks Robinson, it never occurred to him that it was Brooks Robinson, the star, the hero, the idol. I knew that man for 53 years. He was always the same to me, always called me partner. And at the end of every phone conversation, he always told me he loved me. He did it when I spoke to him a few weeks ago. His voice was frail sounding, and he was very weak, but he said, "Partner, how you do?" We chatted for a few minutes, and I could tell it was likely the last time I would hear his voice. And then he said it again, "Partner, I love you." Everyone's going to go someday, people you are devoted to and people who never made a difference in anyone's life. But when truly wonderful people pass, there is a void in your heart, and there is for me as there are for millions. I can say that in my time with Brooks, I had some of the most marvelous times I ever spent in my professional life, and I'm so grateful. And I only hope some of his character somehow rubbed off on me. I would like to think so. So if you want to love Brooks Robinson, you have to get in line, because the line is long and the love abounds. He's the best person I ever knew in sports and among the best people anywhere. I'll say it to him now, as he said it to me always. I love you, partner. Sleep well.
Roy, you have an incredible ability to evoke emotion, and always have. And that's
Thank you, Glenn. Appreciate it.
That's really beautiful, my friend. That's just, I don't know what else we say. Can we assume you're going to be in town in the next few days?
Yeah, I'm waiting to hear what the. I know there's a ceremony at Camden on, I believe it's Monday, but I don't know what the service situation is yet, and I don't know if I'm going to be a eulogist. It doesn't matter. It's not about me. I was already given the thrill of my life to dedicate that statue to Brooks. But if they ask me, of course I will be there, and I'll probably read what I just read.
I'm sure you'll also visit that statue again.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
I have some pictures. I have some pictures with me and Brooks that day. By the way, there's just Eddie, Cal, and Palmer now left from that bunch that were there that day.
Yep.
And it was such a great moment in my life, and I'm so blessed, and I'm grateful that you guys would have me on to say these things.
Roy Firestone, we truly appreciate you, and we send you our love as well. We're all sharing it, you know. We're all sharing these emotions.
Absolutely.
We send you our love as well. Thank you so much for doing that for us this
Thank
morning.
you, Glenn. Thank you, Stan. Thank you, Glenn. Talk to you later.
All
Bye-bye.
right.
He has a special gift, Roy Firestone.
Yeah, he really
He
does.
really can pull emotion and get it out of you, and it's he's one of the greats in that capacity.
I wanted to tell him the story, but he ended up pulling away when I
right.
asked him how old he was, because I had the same experience.
It happened last week
with Gino Marchetti.
Oh, really?
And I was about 55
Oh, I didn't know that.
years old.
Yeah, okay, 55. Yeah, there we go. There we go. Who did that?
When we did the Sudden Death magazine, Sudden Life magazine.
Kevin Eck
did
a cover story for us about Torrey Smith when
Right.
he came back to town after he had
Yep,
left and he had won the Super Bowl with the Eagles, and the exact same thing happened. He called me frantically on a Sunday night. Clint, can you get Torrey on the phone with me? I was like, Kevin, what happened?
I thought you interviewed him.
I thought you were at the basket, like he had this charity event. I thought you were there. And he's like, recorder. And I'm like, oh, man, we have all been there. Oh, I don't know. When you and I did the baseball meetings a couple years ago, do you remember the one in Nashville? I also had picked up some side work from the station in D.C.
Yeah.
And Dusty Baker had been effusively praising Aroldis Chapman, and it was very electric because it was right in the moment where nobody thought that you should be hiring Aroldis Chapman to play baseball, and the station in D.C. is like, dude, are you gonna get me the audio? I'm like, yeah, I got it. Didn't work. The malt box that I plugged into did not function, and I'm scrambling, panicked now because they paid me a nice chunk of change to go down and help them out that week as well, and this is the only thing that was going to matter from the entire week. And there I was, panicked and scrambling, trying to find the audio. It was rough. It was rough. Stan, I know you need to. We had pre-recorded something that we got to get to, but I know you got to duck out here in a couple of minutes. And head back that way. You had a show with Jeff Newman from the Maryland 5-Star.
Jeff Newman and Michael Hankin. Michael Hankin is the chairman of the board of the Maryland 5-Star event. Really interesting how that event is evolving and how they're trying to push that forward. And one of the things they stressed was how difficult it was, and something they probably didn't fully calculate, the Wi-Fi situation out there.
Oh,
in
sure,
Houston
right?
County.
Yeah.
But now they've got a partner that's taking care of that. The Wi-Fi is going to be phenomenal, and it's an interesting discussion. That
show is available right now, facebook.com/PressBoxSports. Click on the videos tab. Go to youtube.com/PressBoxOnline or PressBoxOnline.com/video.
And I also have that new piece up with a great illustration by the great John Panisi of Brooks Robinson at PressBoxOnline.com.
By the way, a quick tweet that I saw from Nathan Ruiz of the Baltimore Sun. The Orioles say their new partnership with the state of Maryland, quote, includes a 99-year ground lease for select areas around the ballpark north of Lee Street, including the B&O warehouse and Camden Station, giving way to more private investment opportunities and spurring economic development, unquote. So it's interesting. It includes the B&O warehouse. I guess that means that they now get...
The Orioles will control that.
That's the trade-off for we're not giving you the parking lots, but the trade-off is we'll let you do what you want with the warehouse. It's interesting. Like, we know how some of the warehouse is used, obviously. A lot of it is office space, some for the Orioles and Masson. It'll be interesting to see,
Listen, this is the way you compete in this day and age. You compete with multiple revenue streams. The old days of just opening up your park and charging for getting getting revenue from broadcast partners.
Yep.
Now it's you have to have multiple.
And as I said all along, I'm on board with that, right? Like you and I have talked about that a few times. I have no issue with, and I think it's good for the city to have more reason for people to be downtown, more things going on. I would say that's a limited space, right? Like the warehouse is as thin as it is, right? Like it's a limit to how much you can do with that space. Yep. And I want to know more about some of the other space they provided him, but it seems like that's the trade-off for it. You cannot have the parking lots. We're not doing that. So this is what the option is instead, and it'll be interesting to see what that looks like moving forward. Yep. All right, so that's the news there. You'll be on the Bat Around tomorrow morning?
I'll be on the Bat Around tomorrow morning.
With Paul and Zach, so make sure you check that out from 10 to noon. Stan the Fan Charles, always appreciate you, sir.
Thank you, bud.
When we come back in, Michael Dunn, Cleveland Browns offensive lineman, former Terp, getting ready to face the Ravens on Sunday. We'll chat with him next. It's Glenn Clark Radio. Why bet with the big boys this football season? Instead, try your hand with the local book, Superbook Sports, this fall. Superbook Sports is the book next door. Just a dedicated team of the best odds makers in Las Vegas, making sure you get the best prices and parlays anywhere. And now, Superbook will give you a bonus of up to $250 when you sign up and wager on the same day and use the promo code GlennClark23, GLENNCLARK23. So bet with the best and use the promo code GlennClark23 this football season with Superbook Sports. Visit superbook.com for terms and conditions. Gambling problem? Call 1-800-GAMBLER.
Maryland drivers, did you know you can save up to 77% on tolls with an Easy Pass Maryland discount plan? That's right, 77%. It's never been easier. Pick the plan that's right for you at driveezmd.com. We'll keep you moving.
What's up, everyone? It's Tyus Bowser, and I've had so much fun hanging out with Rita and putting up with Glenn the last couple years that I've decided to do it again. Season 3 of the Tyus Bowser Show is happening this year, as we'll be all over town, giving you the chance to get to know me and some of my teammates. As we talk football, life in general, and just say what needs to be said. You can find out more about the show by going to PressBoxOnline.com/Bowser. If you don't live in the area, you can watch the shows live on Facebook and YouTube. And if you miss one, you can listen Friday nights at 105.7 The Fan. So we'll see you all season long for the Tyus Bowser Show, a partnership of PressBox and Great Ace Memorabilia.
The next Tyus Bowser Show is Tuesday, October 3rd at Guilford Hall Brewery in Station North. It's brought to you by Superbook Sports. And don't forget, if you or a loved one has a gambling problem, visit helpmygamblingproblem.org.
It's a Maryland thing you wouldn't understand.
Where the waves meet the shore, you will find Dorchester County. Hi, this is Jimmy Charles. When I think of Maryland, I think Dorchester County on the Eastern Shore, where it's open for making memories. Dorchester County, it's a Maryland thing. For more info, visit www.visitdorchester.org.
It's a Maryland thing. Hell yeah. It's a Maryland thing. Hell yeah.
The Baltimore County Police Department is now hiring with competitive salaries, including for experienced police officers, starting salaries between over $68,000 and over $82,000 based on your prior service time, accepting up to 7 years of service times with only 6 weeks in the academy, minimum of 2 years prior experience. And police cadet starting salaries at over $32,000 must be between the ages of 18 and 20, but you can apply starting at 17 and a half. Must have a high school diploma or GED equivalent at the time of the hire, U.S. citizen at the time of the hire, and a valid driver's license. So if you have a passion for service and want a career for life, now is the time to join the Baltimore County Police Department. Call 410-887-5542 or visit joinbaltimorecountypd.com.
Picking a restaurant to try for the first time? Let's look at the Costas Inn. Here's a few checklist items. Quality of the food? Check. Quality of service? Check. Does restaurant have plenty of free parking? Check. And finally, does restaurant have delicious steamed crabs, crab cakes, crab soup, and specials galore? Check, check, check. Costas Inn, 4100 North Point Boulevard. They check all the boxes.
Visit Harford County this fall. Celebrate Arts Across Harford September 15th through the 30th with dance, theater, music, and visual arts. September 29th through October 1st is the largest Italian festival in Maryland, featuring entertainment, cooking demonstrations, a bocce tournament, and family fun. If you're headed to the Maryland 5-Star, stay and play in Harford County. While you're there, enjoy the scenic views atop the King and Queen seats and experience pumpkin patches, corn mazes, and fall brews along their Harford Liberian Incubation Trail. For more info, head to visithartford.com. Maryland open.
What company has the expertise to make your home healthier by purifying your air and killing all viruses, allergens, and bacteria? A.J. Michaels, Heating and Air Conditioning in Baltimore and Annapolis, ajmichaels.com.
Whether your focus is luxury and comfort, convenience and technologically advanced connectivity, or sporty performance and aggressive styling, we've got the perfect Highlander for you. Check out buyatoyota.com for deals on new Highlanders from your local Toyota dealer today.
Sure, Glenn may be in his 40s now, but he looks just as good as he ever has, and he's still as sharp as he ever was. And I say both those things without even a shred of irony. Find out for yourself right now by watching the show at facebook.com/PressBoxSports or youtube.com/PressBoxOnline.
All right, back in here on GCR. I'm looking at the map too, and I'm wondering when they say, because I want to word this one more time. The statement says the partnership with the state of Maryland includes a 99-year ground lease for select areas around the ballpark north of Lee Street, including the B&O Warehouse and Camden Station, giving way to more private investment opportunities and spurring economic development. And I'm wondering if that might actually end up including, like, Lot A. That's the lot that they say you can have Lot A. Now, you know, that's a little bit of parking that would hurt the Ravens on their event days. The Orioles would say, well, we're willing to trade that parking because we can just move, like, the media into Lot BC and say you got to walk a little bit further. And, you know, we don't feel bad about that. That's the way that it's going to go. So I wonder if Lot A ends up being a part of that, and
is Lot A the one north of MLK Boulevard, or
it's between Lot A is between the stadium and MLK. Yes, Lot A is the one. Gotcha. It's the one right there. It's not. You would not park in Lot A. No normal person would ever park in Lot A, right? Like you only park in Lot A if you're working or if you're
gotcha.
in the media, something like that. So, or could it be that in their mind they could then whatever they end up developing, and it's a smaller space, but whatever they end up developing in that area could also include, an underground parking garage. So they could just, in their mind, replace Lot A with, I don't know. I don't know what this looks like, but that appears, in looking at it and the way that it's worded, it's possible that, like, everything on the other side of Lee Street could now be theirs. The other part that's interesting is it also says, also included in the deal is the changing of hands for operations and maintenance responsibilities from the Maryland Stadium Authority to the Orioles organization. So that's interesting now moving forward, that the Orioles would then be on the hook for, like, hey, if you're not happy with the sound system, you got to fix the sound system. So it's just interesting what that all looks like. This is, of course, day one of this, so there's a lot more to be learned than that we know at this point about what's next for the area around the stadium. And unquestionably, other people will be put out if the Orioles are taking over the warehouse and they have other things in mind for the space, then inevitably, somebody who's using it for office space right now could end up being put out in the process. But as I've said a million times before, commercial real estate is the thing that nobody cries over, right? Like, nobody's losing their home. Nobody's losing their small business. Like,
we'll move on.
We'll live. You're going to have to find it. Sorry, you had a really neat office space. You're going to have to find office space somewhere else. Nobody's really all that upset for you. It's just the way that it goes. So that's what we know kind of so far. Still a lot to be learned about what it looks like in this new partnership. Griffin, we are trying to help everybody out with their fantasy football team. You want to tell everybody a little bit more about it?
Yeah, maybe you have, like, Jahmyr Gibbs on your team or something, and you don't know what you should be doing with him. Well, you might be in a little bit of luck. PressBox and Live Casino and Hotel have the answer for you. Looking at you, Glenn.
You still got me a gentleman's 9 last night.
Gentleman's 9. One lucky winner will receive a private fantasy football consultation with PressBox's own fantasy football expert, Joe Serpico, with ongoing help throughout the season, including advice on starts and sits, trades, and waiver wire pickups, plus a VIP game day experience at Live Casino and Hotel Maryland Sports and Social with a reserved table and $200 worth of food and beverage credit. To enter, go to PressBoxOnline.com/contest. Again, PressBoxOnline.com/contest. You must be 21 or older to enter, and the complete rules are available over at PressBoxOnline.com/contest.
All right. We had to do this a little bit earlier on because of his schedule, getting ready for a football game on Sunday, but an opportunity to catch up with Browns offensive lineman and former Terp Michael Dunn here on GCR. Well, of course, Ravens-Browns coming up this Sunday. Great time for us to catch up with a former Terp and a man who had to fight his way into the NFL, and he is not letting go ever since he has gotten to Cleveland. He is Browns offensive lineman Michael Dunn, and he's back with us now here on GCR. Michael, it's Glenn. It's great to catch up, man. Thank you so much for taking the time for us.
No, of course. I appreciate you having me again.
Dude, it's good to hear your voice. It's been a little while. You're right. You know what? I actually hear from your dad sometimes, right? Like every time you get
that does not shock me.
Right? Yeah. You get good news, he'll hit me up on Facebook about it, and I'm really happy for you, man. Funny. Michael, you know, I referenced you were a fighter, right, to your path to this point. You had to go through a lot of things. How much does it mean to now be this deep into it and to be looking back like, oh, my God, it's been seventh year, and like you fully, completely established yourself as being a player at the highest level?
No, I mean, it's been awesome. You know, it's always kind of difficult to really take time to reflect on your entire career, but, you know, it's something that this offseason kind of just like, you know, was able to take a step back and just process kind of everything that I've gone through throughout this 6-7 year journey of the NFL. And really, I consider myself really fortunate, lucky to be in the position I'm in. And, you know, I'm just glad to be able to continue to play.
Did you ever doubt yourself during this like, I get it. Nothing was promised to you, and so you can't control everything. But did you ever have moments where you said, like, man, I got there. That's cool. I don't know if it's going to ever happen. Did you ever think, like, it just might not work out for you to have a lengthy career?
Oh, 100%. Yeah, there were many times that I was just like, yeah, I don't know how this is going to happen, but, you know, in my head I was just like, I'm just going to keep going. You know, throughout all the times of being cut or, you know, just being at home, XFL, AF, you know, just trying to fight to, you know, get on a 90-man roster. You know, I always kind of would say to myself, like, that, like, not necessarily I'd ever be in the position that I am today, but, you know, I always just felt like I'm continuing to get opportunities places and, you know, just see how that all works out. Like, I was never going to quit while I was still getting, you know, some sort of opportunity to play, whether it's on a practice squad or training camp or, you know, the XFL or AF. But I can't really say that, you know, throughout all those tough times I ever imagined this, but, you know, it's been an incredible journey.
A fourth year now in Cleveland, right? Like, this is, I guess, becoming home for you at this point.
Yeah, no, we love it. Yeah.
How did it work that? Like, you know, again, all of this journey, all those places that you just mentioned, the stops, what was it that allowed it to click that allowed you to be such a good fit to stick it out with the Browns for this long?
No, I mean, I just have, you know, I owe a lot to the coaching staff here. You know, my offensive line coach has done an incredible job. You know, I think he's one of the best in the business, and really just being able to learn from him over these years has been great. But yeah, no, it's just, you know, I can't really explain it. You know, for a lot of guys, yeah, I know a lot of guys who are very talented football players and just never were put in a situation that gave them a chance to succeed. So, you know, a lot of it was kind of just timing and situations and just making the most of the opportunity that kind of presented itself at the time. But yeah, no, it's just kind of, it's been a grind every single year, but no, it's been pretty cool to be here for.
Tell the truth, and you're better than those guys. Let's just be honest about it. You're better than those guys.
Yeah, no, I mean, like, there's still a lot of good players, just never got the opportunity. But it's been fun.
He is Michael Dunn of the Cleveland Browns, former Terp. He is with us here on GCR. Of course, we have been pulling you for you from afar, but that has to get thrown out the window on Sunday, as I'm sure you understand.
Yeah.
I
get it.
Yeah, this is really exciting though on Sunday, right? Like this is all of a sudden looking like two teams that could end up being the teams that could be duking this thing out for the division. I know you're gonna do the part where you say, "Hey, we everybody's just the next team on the schedule," but from afar, it feels like this one seems a little bit bigger on Sunday.
I mean, like you said, it's the next one on the schedule, and we have tons of respect for the Ravens, and just the AFC North as a whole is just a great division to be a part of. Every team in the division is fantastic, and it's some great competition for us. But no, it's always it's nice kind of being in the AFC North where you get I know that this game's in Cleveland right now, but the one nice thing is we always kind of get a game in Baltimore that
Sure.
all the family and all the friends are able to go to every single year for me. But no, it's a great team down there, and it definitely should be a good matchup.
I'm assuming your family, your friends, they were probably Commanders fans, right? Or were the the whatever you want to call it at the time.
Yeah, so I was definitely closer, being from Bethesda, kind of right outside D.C. There was more Commanders fandom, but there are still plenty of Ravens fans.
So, all right, let's talk about the season that you guys are putting together, because that defense seems insane. You're going up against that every day in practice. I'm not ready to start saying that you guys are, that unit is like the 2000 Ravens or anything like that, but what is it about that group? How quickly did you realize they might be special on that side of the ball?
I mean, we knew right away in training camp that these guys are good. And, I mean, we have such talented players on defense. It's been awesome to see them work this season. I expect, it to just continue being like that. But yeah, no, those guys are great. They take to their coaching really well, and it's fun to see.
We're taking credit for a lot of it because your defensive coordinator is a Baltimore guy, and Jim Schwartz, and of course former Ravens Darius Smith comes in there and mixes it up, and that dude is awesome. I don't know if you had an opportunity to get to know him much, but man, that guy is so cool and is clearly a hell of a football player.
It's been great. It's been great having him on the team this year.
Dude, that guy can play. Do you start building? You guys have been through so much these last couple of seasons, right? There were so many expectations, and it just wasn't how is the confidence for this team at the moment, and how good do you guys feel about where you're at on both sides of the ball?
No, I mean, we feel good. It's still very early in the season, and right now we're just focused. But it's a new week every single week, and we just got to do everything we can to prepare for the next game, basically. But no, it's been great, kind of being a part of the team right now, and seeing what was done kind of this early in the season. But right now we're kind of just preparing for Week 4 and the Baltimore Ravens.
I mentioned earlier that I'll hear from your dad from time to time. Did I see that maybe this summer you became a dad as well?
I sure did.
Man, tell me
June
about
29th. Yep.
Okay, so it's a little girl?
Yeah, little girl, Madison.
So tell me about what, dude, I've got an 8-year-old and a 6-year-old boy, and I remember everyone telling me, bro, you have no idea how much your life is about to change. And the funny thing is, it comes after you get married and you realize my life didn't change in any way whatsoever. It's everything's the exact same right after you get married. So you hear that and you're like, okay, easy. But then within a week you realize oh my God, no, they underplayed it, how much my life changed in this moment. Can you begin to describe, how much your life has changed now as a dad?
I mean, it's the greatest thing ever being a dad. just being able to come home every single day and having Maddie there and just, playing with her and everything. But really, at the end of the day, I owe tons of credit to my wife, Marissa. The life of a NFL player during training camp and in season, it could kind of be a little hectic, and she's done such an awesome job kind of holding down the fort at home, where, it makes my life a little easier. But, just being able to have, our daughter with us now has been absolutely incredible.
Has it gotten you, like, out of diaper duty at all? Like, hey, baby, I got to protect these hands, right? Like, I got to go up against a pass rusher on Sunday. Like, have you been able to use that to your advantage?
Maybe I might have used it a couple times, like, sorry, I got to watch some tape right now. But, no, my wife has been awesome. And, it's kind of nice, like, during Tuesdays or off days and everything like that, to be able to spend some extra time at home.
That's cool.
Changing diapers and stuff and feeding the baby and doing what I can. But for the most part, Marissa has kind of done most of the heavy lifting.
And then how about these Terps, man? Like, 4-0, real chance to go 5-0 this weekend, and it'd be a real big game looming after that at Ohio State. But starting to feel like maybe there really is there's a there at the moment, right?
Yeah, no, I mean, it's been awesome to watch so far. I mean, just the team as a whole has been playing really well. And, definitely hoping that this weekend ahead, Indiana, that hopefully it's not a trap game or anything like that. But I'm personally excited for the next week after, in Ohio State and Columbus. It's our bye week, too.
Oh, I didn't realize it was your bye. How perfect does that work out?
Yeah, so, I mean, obviously we'll have to figure out, if we're able to make it with the baby here, but, that would be fun to be able to go to.
Dude, that would be cool, man. How cool would that be? And it really is remarkable. Yeah. And I know that, like, when you were there, you guys went through so much stuff, but, like, seeing how Mike has come back and just continued this trajectory, right? Like, there hasn't been a lull yet. And while I know everybody wants to, like, go to the Rose Bowl, win with the Big Ten, it's the reality of what Maryland football is up against. I'm sure you understand that more than ever. And just to not, like, skip any steps in the process, to continue building, it really has been cool to kind of watch from afar.
Oh, yeah, definitely. And really to have Coach Locks back there has been awesome. I mean, he's a perfect guy for the Maryland job. And, being able to play for him for 4 years when he was the OC for us, like, how he is as a coach. And, just for him to have his full hands on the team, I never doubted that this team would be good. And, just to see what him and the whole coaching staff over there has done with the team. And, they're sending guys to the NFL now. Like, I don't know how many guys were drafted this past year, but, like, it seems like every year now there's always guys who are top prospects. And, it seems like it's just going to continue that way. And, for a recruit to see that like every year there's guys out of Maryland that are going to the NFL, that only helps the team move forward. So it's been really fun to watch and, keep track. And, every time that I'm able to, I always try catching the game and everything like that. But yeah, definitely excited for a chance to move to 5-0, which I don't know when the last time Maryland has been
Basically never.
Yeah, really. We got to 4-0 a couple times when I was there, but never could get over the hump to 5.
Oh man, it would be a big deal next weekend. Michael Dunn, like I said, happy for you, and always love to see that you're continuing this journey. But again, hope that it just doesn't go the right way on Sunday. That's the way that it goes. The real Michael Dunn on Instagram, at Mike Dunn for real on Twitter. Michael, congratulations on continuing this thing, man. It's awesome to see. So happy for you, and now for your family with a little girl. That's incredible, dude. Thank you for spending the time with us.
No, thank you.
It's Michael Dunn with us here on GCR. First of all, it would be the first time since 2001. I do want to make sure that's clear. The first time since they won the ACC and went to the Orange Bowl. Back in the 2001 season was the last time they started at the year 5-0, and of course that was when they had to come from behind to win down at Georgia Tech in overtime in order to get there and get that 5-0 start. I also want to follow up real quickly because in rereading this, the wording is important here. And Jeff Barker has written a little bit at The Sun, and I'll just read the way that he words it. The Orioles and representatives, make sure I have this. The Orioles and representatives of Governor Wes Moore said Friday they have reached an agreement on a non-binding, quote, memorandum of understanding, unquote, but not a lease, to keep the Orioles committed to Camden Yards for 30 years. While representatives from the governor's office and the team proclaimed Thursday night that there was a 30-year agreement, they acknowledged during a Friday morning briefing that no lease has been signed. And they said an extension of the current lease for at least a year or two may be needed because both sides have not agreed to final terms yet. Under the memorandum, the Orioles would cease paying rent to the state of Maryland, for Camden Yards, and would assume responsibility for stadium operations and management. The memorandum, which calls for a 30-year commitment, is not a legally binding document. Now, this is going to be used by some to create further hysteria, right? Like there'll be a just when you thought that it was all done, it's not actually done. And that's not what this is. This is a we need to use certain wording until we have the actual framework finalized. I get it. I understand why there will still be people that will choose to say nothing's done until it's done, and if it's not legally binding, the Orioles aren't going anywhere. Stop it. Stop. I get it. I do understand. I really do understand that for some people it's, wretched mismanagement and, losing a football team. It's all of those things. But this isn't that. It's still weird. I get it. It's weird. You would like to just have all of the I's dotted and T's crossed at this point, and every day that goes by without it, for what it's worth, somebody would compare it to Pimlico, which I am to understand is still going to get done, but when they told us it was done, it hasn't been done. It still hasn't even started. So I do get it. It's frustrating, but nothing about this should read, this is why there's still uncertainty as much as it's just, hey, we know what we're doing here. We're making it abundantly clear. It's happening. We're going to start making moves. But, yes, the actual legal document still has to be finalized in the coming years. So we'll see how that goes. But calm down. It's not what you think it is.
All right.
Tyus Bowser Show. Yeah, what, Griff?
No, I guess nothing.
Okay. Tyus Bowser
Nashville
Show returns.
Orioles.
Stop it.
All right.
Shut up. Returns this Tuesday night. We'll be back at Guilford Hall Brewery in Station North. We know definitively there will not be any baseball going on, so there is no reason that you wouldn't come join us on Tuesday night at Guilford Hall Brewery in Station North, Tyus and a special guest. All brought to you by Superbook Sports and HelpMyGamblingProblem.org. You can find out more. PressBoxOnline.com/Bowser. Awful lot of fun every Tyus Bowser Show. We will see you on Tuesday night. Let's go ahead and get a tidbit. By the way, you will hear segment number 3 of the Tyus Bowser Show before we get out of here today. I know we're running late. We knew that we were going to be running late today, but also we started late today on top of it, so it's what it is. Tidbit is brought to you by your local Toyota dealer, buyatoyota.com. The Toyota Tacoma comes in a range of models and trim lines, so you can choose the perfect Tacoma to reflect your unique personality and driving habits. Check out buyatoyota.com for deals on new Tacomas from your local Toyota dealer today.
The Lions and the Packers did play a football game last night. Sam Laporta had, I believe, five catches, I think, last night.
Apparently, in one league, nobody claimed him this week. And I was like, how is that possible? And I remembered I went to put in a claim for him, but this is the Ryan Ripkins league.
Oh, okay. So not really.
There's no IR spot. And so tell me, so this is what my team looks like.
So
I've got
trying to figure out who to drop.
This is not the league where this is the league where I have Gibbs. This is not our league. Tua, Gibbs, Kyron Williams, Justin Jefferson, Jalen Waddle, Dallas Goedert, Puka Nacua, kicker defense. My bench is Anthony Richardson, Roshan Johnson, Kareem Hunt, Isaiah Pacheco, DJ Moore, Gabe Davis. Remember, I dropped Evan Ingram in this league upon Ken's suggestion in order to pick up Kareem Hunt, right?
Yeah.
So...
yeah, I don't know.
What do I do? Because I want to pick up Sam Laporta, but I've got Goddard.
What's Goddard
right?
been doing? He's
been
you know,
fine.
All the tight ends have been.
Yeah, he's been fine. I want to pick up Laporta, but do I drop Goddard?
Right. Man, it's tough.
Do I drop?
In the league that I have Tua, in one of the leagues I have Tua in, I dropped my other quarterback, and so I'm just like rolling with Tua.
But like
and
Anthony Richardson
I know,
has that like
that upside,
right? That you don't really want to, and I get it. Tua, when are you not going to play Tua?
You might just
but you're also
you
still worried about the concussion.
A straight up Goddard for Laporta swap, and that would be the only. I guess depending what Goddard does this week, and that might be the play. That might be the way to go.
Go ahead.
He now has more receptions in his first 4 career games than any other tight end in NFL history, with 22. Brought his career total up to 22 receptions after last night. He is now has the only tight end with more receiving yards in their first 4 career games. After Laporta brought his total up to 242, this tight end had 315 through his first 4 games. Mike Ditka of the Chicago Bears.
How about that?
So some tight end little history there for you. Did you see the when Bryce Harper got thrown out yesterday? This isn't really a tidbit, I guess.
No.
But Bryce Harper got thrown out by Angel Hernandez on a check swing where Bryce he did not go. But Angel Hernandez was the third base umpire, and he said he definitely went, and then Bryce was flipped out, and he immediately tossed him, and then Bryce threw his helmet into the stands.
Okay.
And it ended up with a 10-year-old kid, and Harper wanted to sign the helmet for the kid, and so he did, and so the kid had it, and then the kid was talked to after the game. Like, they interviewed him after the game, and he was like, "This is
Dorfman." His name.
Hayden Dorfman. This is the best baseball game I've ever been to."
Yeah, that's right, Hayden. And by the way, you probably will never be to a better one, honestly.
Let's
be honest.
Thanks to Angel Hernandez.
Yeah, it's true. Right. I saw on Wednesday night where we were sitting, as I told you, it was right. Like we had great seats.
Mm-hmm.
In the 8th inning, a foul pop came our way and ended up, 12 seats to our right, 2 rows back, and the woman was not paying attention, and it hit her on her shoulder, and it sounded awful. It sounded terrible. And I was like, what? First of all, we immediately recognized when we were sitting there, we got to make sure that we're constantly paying attention. Never look down, always know, This woman never looked up, never moved, just sat there to make me think, I guess that's not where it's hitting, because she probably, and it just right on the shoulder. Now, she said she was fine. Everybody checked on her. She was shaking it and it stung clearly, but she swore she was okay. And it was just, I don't know how you sit anywhere close at a baseball game
really?
and you're not. Yeah. Maybe the net gives you a false sense of security. The amount of weight that ball is coming down with, even on a pop-up, is still gonna sting. You might not have the serious injuries that some people unfortunately had in the past, but it still ain't gonna be good.
When I was there last night, the half inning that I chose to go to the bathroom, I grabbed a pretzel, and my mom said there was a foul ball. We were up in the upper deck along the third baseline, and still 10 rows back, I think. So there was almost no chance we were getting a ball. And when I came back, she said that a foul ball came 2 rows in front of us, and I was like, oh my gosh, I would have had it.
Oh yeah, you would have been all over that.
I caught a ball at a game last year. And in one of the early in the year.
Okay, when nobody was at the game, when you had the entire section to yourself.
No, I caught it. They replayed it on the Madison broadcast.
I have the only ball that I've ever.
That was my moment. I peaked.
Okay, the only ball that I've ever caught at a baseball game was a Melvin Mora 3-run homer against the Astros.
Wow.
It was
home
not,
run ball.
but it was on a ricochet. It was, probably 1 row below me and 6 seats down, 6 seats to my left. hit a guy in the hands, bounces out of his hand, and like bounces legitimately a row. That's how hard this like ball is traveling out of his hand. It stung him. It stung him. But it was an adult male, so I did not feel bad about this. I was also like 20 at the time, right? Like,
better grab it. Yeah.
Stung him, and then bounced all the way to me, a row and 6 seats away.
Jeez.
And I just stuck my hand out. I'm like, hey, cool.
Nice.
I just caught a home run ball. What's it? No,
they
did actually. They did. They were cheering, but then everybody started looking in like,
wow,
in my direction, which was cool, right? And I think I definitely like tipped my cap or something like that, like an idiot. It's the only ball I've ever caught. My Mrs. Clark, we were at a game during maybe I'm going to say one of the bad years, but I want to say it was actually like it might have been 15 or 13, like not like when they were really bad, just when and it was at the end of the year. I remember it still being hot enough that they were like giving away ice, like cups of ice on the concourse. And Mrs. Clark, we had like 4th row behind the plate seats. The best. I mean, it was insane. Our buddy Cotter got them for
behind
us.
Callan.
Yeah, pretty much.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't think he was there for this game because they were not good at this point. But Mrs. Clark was like, I'm going to go back up and get some more ice. And she comes back down and she's holding a baseball. And I'm like, what the hell is that? And she was like, oh, I walked out from like, back from the concourse back to the seats. And literally the ball bounced right in front of her and she just grabbed it. She was
that
not
happened last night,
not paying attention at all. Just like getting her ice and her pretzel or whatever she had, and she was walking back out, and all of a sudden there's a ball popping right up into her face from a foul ball. So
yeah, no, well, so because my friends would took a video of the Masson broadcast, and Ben McDonald, after I caught my ball, it was a Carlos Correa foul ball. I was sitting in the 3rd deck, and he fouled it off right into the front row, and I grabbed it. Ben McDonald said, "Give that fan a contract." So
that's cool.
So that was
cool.
That was pretty cool.
All right.
The Orioles' first team.
We do have to move on.
I know.
We're gonna go past one.
From Sarah Langs, the Orioles are the first team in Major League Baseball history to go from a 110-loss season to a 100-win season in a 3-season span. First team to do this. The only team that ever even went from 100 losses to 100 wins in a 3-season span was the 67 to 69 Mets.
Mets, yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Yes. And then finally, Clinchmas 2014. Give me the lineup. It was September 16th, 2014. It was cool. When we were walking out the stadium, I saw the mural of the
all the division titles.
Well, yes. And then they had like a big one of the 2014 celebration. So that was cool to look at as I exited the stadium.
Okay, I'm
and
trying
grabbed
to
my division champ shirt.
Like you accomplished something.
I did, yeah, I did.
You bought a shirt. It's not an accomplishment.
I'm helping re-sign Gunner.
It's an honest question. I'm trying to remember who was leading. Was David Lau leading off?
David Lau was not leading off. He was not in the lineup.
Okay. So was Nick Markakis leading off?
Nick Markakis was, in fact, leading off.
So then I'll say Adam Jones batting second?
Not second.
Jonathan Scope batting second?
Not Jonathan. Jonathan Scope was not. He came in to pinch hit later.
Okay.
So Scope not on, but Jonesy was batting 3rd.
Jones was 3rd. Well, so there was no Davis or Machado in the lineup because they were both gone by this point?
Correct. Yeah, no Davis or Machado.
Machado hurt, Davis suspended. So Nelson Cruz was probably the cleanup hitter.
He was, yes. DHing, Nelson Cruz.
So was Kelly Johnson in the lineup then? If Scope
Kelly
wasn't?
Johnson, yeah, Kelly Johnson was not in the lineup.
And who was playing second?
Is Kelly Johnson on the 14 team?
Oh yeah, he was definitely because he was kind of like when they needed he and De Aza were the two they acquired at the second deadline that year.
Okay.
When they wanted reinforcements after losing Davis.
And did you say that guy? Who would you just say?
De Aza was he in the lineup?
He was batting second.
De Aza was batting second.
He was. He had a triple and had 3 RBIs.
Was he playing left then?
He was playing left. Yeah, Markakis in right, De Aza in left. That was the top 3. So you have the top 4.
We've got all outfielders in DH.
Yes. Who was the infield?
Yuck. J.J. Hardy was probably playing.
He was. He was playing shortstop, batting
sixth.
Okay.
Sixth. Then who would the second base? Flaherty?
Flaherty, yes. Flaherty was starting at second.
Batting ninth.
Batting eighth.
Wieters behind the plate?
Not Wieters.
So that would have been, oh God, don't tell me. It would have been Hundley?
It was. Nick Hundley.
Batting ninth?
Yes, batting ninth. Corners.
Right. Now I'm trying to remember who played first base. That would have been Pierce, right?
It was,
yeah.
yes. Steve Pierce hit a 3-run homer in the first inning.
Fifth?
Yeah, batting fifth, yes. So batting seventh.
And playing third base.
And he hit a home run in this game.
Delman Young?
No, not Delman Young.
Paredes?
Yeah. Jimmy Paredes batting third.
Jimmy Paredes was playing out in Frederick earlier this year.
Then on the mound?
Oh, who pitched that game? Tillman.
No.
Ubaldo.
It was Ubaldo, yes. Picked up his 5th win of the season. 5-9.
Very good.
Tommy Hunter closed out the game.
All right, Tidbit was also brought to you today by the Green Turtle Canton grand opening celebration this Sunday. Join Ravens Super Bowl champion Qadri Ismail from 1 to 2 p.m., showing off his ring, taking pictures with everybody. Great specials all day long. You can watch the games. Maybe you can watch the AAA National Championship there at the Green Turtle in Canton on Sunday. But Qadri will be there 1 to 2. Check him out, the new Green Turtle at Canton Crossing. Tubular is brought to you today. Oh, who's calling me? Where's 424? Tubular is brought to you by your local. No, I already did that one. So this one would then be brought to you by the Baltimore County Police Department. October 29th. No, October 28th. I said the wrong date. I'm sorry. Scratch it. Erase it. May it never be said again. October 28th, the Public Safety Building. 700 East Joppa Road in Towson. Next hiring event for the Baltimore County Police Department. You can go through basically the entire hiring process right there. Written test, agility test, application, all of it. Plus, they'll have members of the specialized units in attendance. So if you have questions about, like, what career opportunities there might be besides just being a patrol officer, you can get those questions answered. If you're not looking for a career change, if you have no interest in becoming a Baltimore County police officer, it would still be a great day to be there because it's also a trunk or treat event. Nice community gathering, nice safe place for your kids to put their costumes on, go get some candy. Baltimore County Police Department hosting a trunk or treat and hiring event October 28th, Public Safety Building, 700 East Joppa Road. Call 410-887-4584 or visit joinbaltimorecountypd.org in order to find out more. Sorry, joinbaltimorecountypd.com in order to find out more. I'll get there eventually. It's my fault. I don't know what happened there. I think it's because it's 1 o'clock. That might be part of the problem.
Checked out.
Here's what's coming up this weekend, totally tubular-wise. Can't give you all of it, but give you what matters. Orioles, Red Sox, indeed, will play on. The only thing that would still be in play is for the Orioles to finish with a better record. Make sure they lock up finishing with a better record than the Dodgers, should that be the World Series matchup. Tonight on Masson, 7 o'clock, Nick Pivetta and John Means. Tomorrow on Fox, it's Wayne Randazzo and A.J. Pierzynski on the call, 7:15. Tomorrow's also a sellout. Game doesn't mean anything. It's sold out.
That hoodie. Everybody wants the hoodie.
Is tonight the Jim Palmer thing, or is that tomorrow?
Yes.
Tonight's Jim Palmer.
Yeah. I think so. Yeah, tonight's Jim Palmer. Okay. Because tomorrow's the hoodie.
Tomorrow's the hoodie. That's the reason. Tomorrow night, Cutter Crawford and TBA. We'll see what the Orioles plan to do pitching-wise. Sunday, 3 o'clock on Masson, Tanner Houck and TBA. College football tomorrow, Big Ten Network, Indiana, Maryland, 3:30. CBS Sports Network, South Florida Navy at 3:30. Flow Sports, Towson, New Hampshire at 3. ESPN Plus, Morgan State, Yale at noon. Johns Hopkins is at Rowan at 1. You can watch it on YouTube. Tomorrow night, as I mentioned, MLB Network for the AAA National Championship game between Norfolk and Oklahoma City, 10 o'clock on MLB Network tomorrow night. Sunday NFL, CBS, Ravens, Browns, 1 o'clock. Fox has Commanders, Eagles at 1 o'clock. Patriots, Cowboys, the game we all demanded at 4:25. And Sunday night, yes, Chiefs, Jets. 3 hours of here's what Taylor Swift is doing right now. Here's Taylor Swift picking her nose. Here's Taylor Swift. That's what you're going to get tuning in for Sunday night.
You think she's going to pick her nose?
Don't. I doubt it, but whatever she does, they're going to show it. That's at 8:15. Ryder Cup got underway today. Tomorrow it continues. It continues very early in the morning on NBC. Or it starts.
Adam Jones is there, apparently.
Oh, really? Well,
Yeah,
he lives in Spain now, so that makes sense. Its coverage actually starts tomorrow morning at 1:30 a.m. on USA Network and moves to NBC at 3. I'm not watching. I don't give a rat's ass. On Sunday, coverage starting at 5:30 a.m. on NBC. Oh, and ESPN Plus has Falcons Jaguars at 9:30 a.m. on Sunday, and if you want to watch the Toy Story thing, you can do that too.
Nice.
Non-sports. I just need the highlight of highlights.
Okay. Let's see. Gen V, new series on Prime Video. It's in the Boys universe.
Okay.
At Godolphin University. I don't watch the Boys, so I don't know if that's like a thing. But superhero school essentially.
Okay.
I
I love the Boys, so I'm interested.
Flora and Son, new movie on Apple.
Do we know
TV
anybody
Plus.
who's in it? Like, are they bringing are boys characters involved in it? Or?
See. It didn't look like they were at least main characters or anything.
I'm listening.
All the animated the adult animation shows are back on Fox. New seasons. There's a new show called Crapopolis, which takes place in like ancient Greece. Hannah Waddingham is one of the voices.
Love me some Hannah Waddingham.
Yes.
Of course, Ted Lasso fame.
Yes. Those are the highlights of highlights.
Okay,
The Meg 2 was on streaming.
Apparently, it sucked. Now, in fairness, there were a lot of people that hated The Meg to begin with, and like The Meg was a fun movie, man. Like it was.
I did not see The Meg.
I'm out on. The Meg, the first one was fun as hell. It was outstanding. If you like shark movies, it's a great shark. I mean, it's not Jaws, but Jaws is the greatest motion picture of all time. Like that's not the fair standard.
And Jason Bay and
what?
Wasn't. Or no, it was Jason Statham.
Yeah, Jason Statham.
Did Jason Bay do? He didn't do this. He didn't have anything to do with this.
Are you thinking of Michael Bay?
Maybe, yeah.
Jason Bay was a baseball
right,
player. I'm like, what in the world?
I'm thinking of Michael Bay.
I don't think Michael Bay did the Meg.
Yeah, he was Transformers. Why did I think?
I have no idea why you thought.
Or the Meg.
I don't know. But the Meg was fun as hell, man. Like I don't know what it got on Rotten Tomatoes. Reception. Thank you. Where is the score?
Meg.
46%. So
wow,
that's wildly. The Meg is fun. Like so, F that. But the second one got like 10%. I mean, it was not good. All right. Tubular was also brought to you today by Superbook Sports. Use the code GlennClark23 when you sign up. Get a same-day first bet match up to $250. Download the Superbook app. Go to superbook.com. Thanks today to Michael Dunn. Thanks to Stan the Fan Charles. Thanks to Roy Firestone, Bo Smolka, Charles Davis. We'll get all of it up in the greatest hits section of the
Oh, my God, it's so good.
tab at GlennClarkRadio.com. Again, bear with me. Sometime this weekend, I'll tell you when we're going to do Monday's show. I just think that we're maybe going to push it back a little bit because of the Brooks Robinson Memorial. I just think that I want to show that respect and not do a show at the same time as that's going on. I get it. Like most of you say, well, I listen later in the day anyway. Well, then you can listen later in the day to a later in the day show. Like, look at how that works out. I'm just leaning towards that, but I'll get you some a final decision on that at some point on social over the weekend. So stay tuned for that. Don't forget the Bat Around tomorrow morning with Paul and Zach, 10 to noon. And Project Game Day on Sunday with myself, Rita, and Femi Ayan Badejo. Thanks to everybody at PressBox, all of our great sponsors and partners, including Live Casino and Hotel, the Maryland 5-Star, A.J. Michaels, the Baltimore County Police Department, Royal Farms, the Costa Sins, Superbook Sports, Dorchester County, Baltimore Orioles, Birdland Sports, Easy Pass MD, Hartford County, your local Toyota dealer, and buyatoyota.com. Thanks to Griffin at Griffin_Bass. Follow us on Twitter, Instagram, and TikTok at Glenn Clark Radio. Have a great weekend. Go Birds, go Ravens, go Maryland, Navy, Towson, Morgan, all of it. Duke sucks. We wrap up the week with segment number 3 of the Tyus Bowser Show with special guest Michael Pierce.
Welcome back in for segment number 3 of the Tyus Bowser Show. I didn't realize Rita was still eating.
Yes,
Sorry, Rita.
Apparently, this food is jumping.
We are.
I'm sorry, I was hungry.
It's okay. It's okay. We forgive you.
We are live at Guilford Hall Brewery, PressBox 105.7 The Fan. Tyus Bowser alongside Michael Pierce with us tonight. I want to make sure I again shout out Guilford Hall Brewery because they are awesome hosts.
Amazing, man. Love this place.
The space is incredible. They host events all throughout the year, and they got another. They're going to be opening it in the morning for the London game on October 15th and hosting an official watch party with drink specials and food specials. So they're opening early on October 15th for the London game. This is the place to be, Guilford Hall Brewery in Station North. All right, so we can handle this quickly. You know, Week 4 is this week.
It is.
And then after that would be week 5.
That is true.
So
Glenn is doing the most. You gonna be ready soon or not?
I'm gonna be ready soon.
You gonna be ready soon?
I'm gonna be ready soon.
All
and
right.
that's all I'm gonna say.
I see the smirk on your face, so I'm gonna go with that.
All right, can we pull the curtain back for a second? Because I think people like hear this and they're like, why can't you just ask Tyus when he's going to be back on the field? That's not the way it works.
Don't work that way.
There are policies within the team, and we don't talk about injuries, and that's the way that things go.
And they got HIPAA laws and all that other stuff.
100%, right? So that's the reason why if you turn in, like, why wouldn't you just ask Tyus to say when he's going to be on the field? Well, we can't do that. That's the way that it goes.
You can ask. He ain't gonna tell you.
Yeah, I mean, absolutely.
He's just gonna say you have to wait and see.
A few people did that after the games. Like, you gonna be back? I'm like, I'm gonna be back when I be back. You know?
Mind your business.
Exactly. Mind your business. Just
how are you feeling is the way that we can ask that. How are you feeling?
I'm feeling good. I'm feeling good. It's coming along really well. You know, moving on the field a lot more. Getting into, you know, a few of my drills, just getting myself acclimated to being back on the field and, you know, getting used to everything again. So everything is moving in a positive direction, and, you know, I'm going to be back. I'm going to be back.
All right. That's the part that matters, is we know it's coming soon, and that's what we're waiting for. All right.
Glenn, I got a question real quick, because we know that Tyus does this thing where he throws the ball to people pregame, and he still does it, because I saw a tweet where you gave a girl a ball, and they were so thankful, you know, for you for.
It was
for
an adorable
doing that.
little girl.
It was.
Yeah,
She was
absolutely.
adorable. I was going to ask Michael, is there any like pregame things that you do to just kind of loosen yourself up a little bit and get prepared for the game?
Not a lot. I tend to listen to like jazz music.
Really?
Yeah.
Who's
for
your favorite jazz artist?
My favorite jazz artist, I would say Bonnie James.
Okay.
But I can go deeper than that, like Miles Davis, Maynard Ferguson.
Yeah,
I can go on and on. But yeah, I'm deep into jazz.
Okay.
So
We might, you know what? We might have to start calling Mike Uncle Clean. We might have to start.
Might have to.
No, for me, it's just more so like calming myself down. So I always wake up like crazy early on game days, like 5 o'clock for like no reason. I take melatonin to try to sleep in, but for whatever reason I can't. So no, it's just more so like getting to the stadium, obviously doing activation stuff with our staff, but just really trying to calm myself down and just kind of relax. I know everybody likes to hear football players say, "Oh, I got to get myself riled up." That's the easy part for me. Once the pads come on and all that stuff, I'm ready to go. But more so just trying to keep myself in a steady state up until it's time to get on the field. So that's probably atypical, but that kind of keeps me even keel.
And I don't even think that, because didn't Michael Jordan listen to like
Kenny Lattimore
or
Yeah,
something?
right.
So I mean, listen, you know, hey.
I'm not gonna say I'm Michael Jordan. But that is interesting to know.
Because you're better, right? So, I want to tell everybody, Grade 8's Memorabilia has this amazing event coming up. It is on October 15th. They are hosting a private screening and brunch for the Taylor Swift Eras Tour film. And I know, Tyus, you're going to be the first in line
Absolutely.
When it comes out. It's at Horizon Cinemas Aberdeen, and your ticket includes admission to the screening, plus a delectable catered brunch, complimentary glam sessions, popcorn beverages, exciting giveaways, and much more, and it all benefits the Susan G. Komen Foundation. Find out more at facebook.com/grade8smemorabilia and grade8smemorabilia.com. I bring it up because there was a pretty big story in football this weekend that Taylor Swift attended a game.
Took over the internet.
Are you either, like, I joke about it, but are you at all into, like, do you, like, ever listen to Taylor Swift at all?
No.
Okay.
The last time I listened to Taylor Swift was when Coach Harb's daughter was in the weight room working out.
Really?
And it was her birthday. So they kind of just
They let her have control of the...
They let her have control of the music.
But you didn't have, like, your own earbuds to...
No, it was too loud to even...
Oh, wow.
But, I mean, it was like one or two songs that I knew that was like one of her older songs. But, yeah, that's about it.
Okay.
Yeah, that's
And, Mike, you're not in on the Taylor Swift
No.
Okay.
I did hear, like, she's making, like, billions of dollars
Yeah,
on
she's
this
doing
tour
well,
and
right?
whatnot.
She's doing well for herself.
Like I said, I'm not the most familiar, but, like I said, I understand her greatness, so
okay, all right.
Just leave it at that.
That's a nice way of saying it. And hat tip, Travis Kelce, do your thing, right? Like I think we can all say that.
Yeah.
My question is,
There's a catch.
You could have any one celebrity be your guest at a future home game, right? Sit in the box, be there as your guest. Who would you want that to be? Hang out afterwards?
And why is it Beyonce?
I don't know. Is that you talking to me?
Either both of you. I want to give.
You can go first. Go ahead.
I was gonna say that might be a trick question for you. But,
I ain't answer
Right.
no. Certainly
But I
not.
bet you if you said Beyonce, your wife would be completely fine.
My wife would probably have a blast sitting next to her, so that'll work out all right for me.
Celebrity guest? I mean, I'll probably say, like, my celebrity crush is Zazie Beetz. I don't know if you've heard of, like, the Atlanta. She's probably been on a few movies and stuff.
Yeah.
So that's kind of like my, celebrity
So
crush.
this would you would be looking to pull a date out of this, though.
Absolutely.
Like, okay, you're trying to go the Travis Kelce
Yeah,
route.
absolutely. Why not? It's
I don't blame you at all. Shoot your
It's
shot.
worth it.
Isn't that the story that he just slid into her DMs or something like that? Why not?
Exactly. Why not, man?
There was a cornerback was it Will Davis or
Will Davis.
Remember Will Davis?
Yeah.
You know the story that he married an Olympic gymnast?
Oh, I thought she was. I thought she was a model, but yeah.
I think she was a model and an Olympic gymnast. And I was asking him about it, and he was like, "Yeah, I just hit her up on Instagram one day, just slid in."
That's wild.
And she's a British Olympic gymnast, and he ended up marrying her.
Happens all the time,
right?
right?
Didn't that guy from the Texans marry Simone Biles and she? Hit
Oh
him
yeah,
up.
right.
And
Yep.
she DM'd him, I think. So
Yep.
it's the world we live in.
I'm just waiting for that
You're waiting to
DM
get the
come
DM?
up. Yeah,
You're
I'm just waiting.
So you would like the DM from this young lady so then you can invite her to the game.
The unfortunate thing, I think she is in a relationship. But it is what it is. It is what it is. But yeah.
All right, so Mike, we know it's not going to be that you're looking for a date out of this.
Certainly
we
not.
understand.
No. I like to say two people. One, because we love her, Snow Aguilera. I love her music.
That's
Okay.
So if I could hear her sing after the game, that'd be dope.
cool.
But
That'd be real cool.
I say a former president, probably like Barack Obama, because I just think he's super cool.
Then the rest of us would have to
Super
wait
chill
5
dude.
hours to get through security in order to get into the game. So thanks a lot, Mike. Thanks a lot.
I ain't thinking about that part, but it'd be worth it. It'd be worth it.
Thinking about the rest of us and how miserable it would be to try to get into the game. But no, I respect that. I appreciate that a great deal. Speaking of celebrities, let's just say hypothetically, for no reason at all, Kim Kardashian were to be at a Ravens game later this season. No reason why that might be the case, right? No reason whatsoever.
Why Kim Kardashian?
I don't even know, right? I'm just throwing out a name, just
Kim
maybe.
At a Ravens game?
At a Ravens game, right?
Out of all teams,
I know there's 32 teams, and I'm saying she would come to a Ravens game.
Okay.
I like to state on the record, I don't know anything.
I don't know anything. I'm
That's right,
asking
mind your
questions
business.
now, so that's why, I don't know nothing.
Listen,
You know something, Rita?
Kim Kardashian ain't coming here, okay?
All right, no, wait.
Let's be real, okay? If you ever, Kim Kardashian is not coming here.
But wait a second.
This city is a little. This is not Calabasas, okay? We love Baltimore. I love my city, but we are not Calabasas. That lady is not ever coming
But
here.
let's just say she had a friend that played for the Ravens, right?
She'll go to the away games where they do play in L.A. in November.
That's true.
She'll just go out there.
That's true.
That makes
If that were to happen, would you be like, hey, I need to go over and get this pick real quick? Or would...
Honestly, I probably not. Probably not.
I thought you were about to say you. I thought that... Rita, did it sound like he was about to say I probably would and then stopped himself
Wait,
and
because
said...
Tyus, did you used to watch them? Wasn't
Keeping
that
Up-
one of your
Keeping Up
guilty
with the
pleasure
Kardashians?
shows?
Keeping Up with the Kardashians?
Yeah.
No, I didn't watch that.
Okay.
No, we were
So that was a
very
guest
clear. We're
that you
Jersey
had.
Shore guys over on this side of the table.
Okay, that was one of the guests then. Somebody
Yeah,
said that they loved
think
watching
so.
it. That was their show. So I
Yeah.
thought it was you.
Oh, no,
Never mind. Then I agree. I don't think Tyus would like it.
You really wouldn't? You'd be like, one pick. Just one pick.
I mean, we've had other celebrities in there, but I mean, I never really just was
Not
like,
a-
yo, let me get a pick. You know?
All right. Mike, what about you? Would you, if just hypothetically, Kim Kardashian were to be at a Ravens game this season for no reason at all?
Nah, I'm all right. I'm all right. I'm a country boy from Alabama, bro. I don't do all that. You know what I mean? I'm not on that wave.
Oh,
but that'll be dope if you.
That would certainly be
if she
cool.
wanted to roll through, right? Yeah.
But I'm interested to figure out whom she would be.
Mike, do you really not know?
We
like,
all are, I guess.
I would like to hear you say it.
Okay, I just realized that you are really good at this, bro. You are really good at dodging this. That was well done. He legitimately had me convinced he had no idea what we were talking about. Can I ask this? Can you guys talk about that in the locker room? Can you guys be like,
Well, pick on guys
Yeah, like
when they're dating somebody that you know that is kind of high profile or something.
I really don't know if that's true or not.
No, I'm just generally speaking. Like if it was,
Right.
let's hypothetically say like if it was someone in the locker room that was dating someone,
or even if it was
relatively
nonsense.
known, do y'all like get to pick on this person or like, oh, I heard you was hanging out with, or for instance, when they was at the Drake concert, heard you was hanging out with Drake.
Yeah.
He's famous. Do you guys do stuff like that?
I mean, knowing the guys who knows him, I mean, like they've either been on music videos with this dude, and you know what I'm saying. So we already know. You know what I'm saying.
Yeah.
So I mean, we don't really just bring that up because it's like.
Yeah, you don't magically end up on stage at a Drake concert.
Very true.
You know, like social media ruins like your imagination.
Exactly.
You know who should be on stage at a Drake concert? Our guy Shaggy.
Really?
Should be on stage at a Drake concert.
Yes.
Our dude Shaggy.
You could do some work on. Yeah, I can see
Bro.
that.
This guy is as legit as it gets.
And shout out to him too, because I looked at that video for about 10 minutes. Like, did they really bring? No, but the band ain't that cool, are they? Is it? And I was like, it has to be him, right? Like nobody on the band. I've seen the band walk down Ravens Walk. They're a nice group of people.
Yeah.
They be on the 1 and they be on the 2 and the 4 beat, and so I'm happy for them. But they are not that cool.
I honestly thought that they just was like, yo, you know how to dance, like go out there and do it. It's like, we're going to put a camera on you.
They had me fooled.
They had me fooled.
100%. We had an argument. Herb and I on the sideline was like, this dude is about to get fired. Like, he got on Nike Dunks. Like, he a little bit fresh for the band, but like, he got moves. So kudos to you, my G.
Yo, Shaggy is legit. Give it up. Shaggy is here at Guilford Hall Brewery. That dude is amazing. All right, before we get out of here, let's cover two things. One, what are the rules for a fumble and when you pick it up and when you fall on it? Like, I'm not trying to clown anybody. I want to make that abundantly clear. I'm just trying to ask a question about what the rules are. That's it, all right? That ball is laying there. You got one earlier this season, Mike. That ball is laying there. When are you supposed to just lay down? And when are you supposed to say, no, we can turn this into a touchdown right now. I'm going to go try to get that football.
I think it just depends on, like, where you at. You just got to be conscious of where you at. If it's a fumble in the pocket and the ball is around the line of scrimmage and if Mike Pierce see it, I'm sure he's going to try to dive on the ball. He's not trying to pick it up, you know, for the instance when.
What are you trying to say?
No, I'm just saying because you got so many guys there, they probably see it as well. You probably want to get on it compared to if, you know, K. Ham, you know, hits the quarterback and he's 15 yards behind the line of scrimmage and the ball just sitting back there. Like, you would probably want to pick it up and run compared to just diving on it because you have a better opportunity of scoring.
Yeah, so the rule is if you're in the clear, if you feel like you're, you know, by yourself or, you know, you have an opportunity to run, then you can scoop and score. Interestingly enough, we do this as a rookie initiation in camp where they bring the fire hose out and they make them dive on the wet football.
I've never done that.
They've been doing it the past 2 years.
Oh, last 2 years, okay.
At least, the last two I saw. So, what
I wasn't there. You know, I was hurt the past.
You was
2
inside.
years. Yeah.
Either way,
I was inside.
yeah, we get out this fire hose. I'm sure they got videos of this crap. So they wet the field up, this little section of the field right in front of the facility, and they bring the fire hose out, and they spray the rookies as they try to dive on this wet football. So, I mean, we ain't had that kind of luck the other day, but
it's the way it goes. Again, like I said,
theoretically, we drilled that.
I'm telling you, I'm not trying to get on anybody, right?
Yeah.
It's just I'm fascinated by what the thought, like in that moment, like what that thought process is. Am I just supposed to get the football? Because you know how it's going to go if you fall on top of the ball. Everybody's going to say, dude, there were 40 yards right in front of you. Like, you should have gone and scored a touchdown.
The most important thing is to get the ball.
Secure
the
ball.
possession.
Secure the ball. That's it.
Got to make sure you come away with the ball. So if you go scoop and score, you better pick up the ball, or you're gonna get.
Yeah.
Okay.
Absolutely.
All right. All right. I think we handled that as well as we possibly could. This week, Cleveland. Real tough stretch these 3 weeks. Like, there's an awful lot of travel in 3 weeks, man. Like, I can't even put into words. I imagine, let's say all the platitudes we're supposed to say, right? Like, driven, focused, after a tough loss, like, everybody's reeled in on what's ahead in these next 3 weeks, right?
Yeah, I mean, I think it goes without saying these next 2 games are division games. So, like I said, we have an opportunity to go 3-0 in the division. If you can do that, your road will be a lot easier.
With all the rest of them being at home after
on
that.
the back end.
On the back end, yeah.
Right. So if you handle your business up front, you don't have to worry as much on the back end. So that's all the motivation we need.
I mean, y'all started off pretty well in the division. That was a pretty good. Why couldn't we have done a show last Tuesday? Why couldn't we have had that? Just to have that jubilation, man.
I mean, it could have been that way this week, you know?
I know. That's the way it goes. Yeah. And then let's talk about Za'Darius real quick, because as we talked about it before, like I know he meant a lot to you guys when you guys were first getting your feet wet, seeing him on Sunday, the career that he has carved out for himself after moving. Like, there's a joke for years that, like, once you moved on from Baltimore, nobody finds a lot of success, right? Like, that dude has found an ungodly amount of success in this league. What is it going to mean to see Za'Darius?
It's going to be awesome. Za'Darius is a fellow Alabamian. So, like I said, I came in a year after him, and I saw him literally take off and then morph into something that I don't think anybody really could have foreseen, like to that height, just being a premier pass rusher in this league. So, now I'm super happy for him. I got to play him when he was in Green Bay. But, no, man, that's, like I said, it's like a family member that you get to see. So, kind of like with Big O and Cincy. So, no, man, we don't want him to have any success this week, but it's cool to watch him on film.
Yeah, besides this week, you know, best of luck to that man. But, you know, we're trying to tame him, but he's a great player. And like I said, this is a guy that I've been looking up to, you know, since my first year, you know, looking at him in one-on-ones, and I'm just going through film like, man, like, what is he doing to just, you know, move so freely? Like, what is he seeing? And I've always asked them questions about it as well. And I mean, the film shows. I mean, he's in the backfield almost every time, and that's definitely going to be a tough guy we're going to have to look out for and, you know, block. But great player, you know, looking forward to seeing him play. Not expecting too much this week, but, you know, any other time besides this week, you know, I'm always supporting that guy.
May he lose by 100 points.
Absolutely.
There we go.
Indeed.
There we go. I don't think we can say anything else about that. Make some noise one more time. Michael Pierce. You got off Twitter. You're still on Instagram, though, right?
Yeah, I'm still on Instagram.
Give Mike a follow there. I want to remind everybody, Glenn Clark 23 is the code, superbook.com, or download the Superbook app. When you do, you will get a same-day first bet match up to $250, win or lose. Glenn Clark 23 at Superbook. Tyus, I hope the next time, we're back together next Tuesday.
Next Tuesday.
Right back here at Guilford Hall Brewery.
I
I'm
need to see
excited about
everybody
that.
here too. Every single person. It's not that many people in here, so I know exactly who's in here.
We will be back here Tuesday, October 2nd. October 3rd? October 3rd is the date, next Tuesday, for the next Tyus Bowser Show. PressBoxOnline.com/Bowser to find out more. Rita, love you. Tyus, love you, brother. Appreciate
Love you as well, man.
Thank you, everybody who came out tonight. This has been the Tyus Bowser Show.